We are the Newsroom Show. A very good morning to you. I'm Evan Jansen, and this is Elvis President. Over there, we've got Kendall Makamati, as always, with us until midday today. Well, yeah, this is South Africa's top news show. Good morning, Mr. President. We know you're watching. Elvis, I saw a picture with the President watching the show while you were on air. That must be quite a thing in the feather in the cap.
Fantastic. The President is watching. That's all I can say.
Good morning to you, Mr. President. We thank you for being a fan of our show. Now, today we focus on global wealth disparity, the rising income inequality, and the polarization of societies that could pose a risk to the global economy. So, we're running a poll, and we're getting straight to the point, because the rich are getting richer, and the poor, well, they're getting poorer. Elvis, should the rich pay a wealth tax globally? What do you say?
That is the indication, because there is a sense that the rich are getting rich, the poor is getting poorer. We're not going anywhere, and the rich should pay back the money.
Pay back the money.
That's the question we pose to you, and 74% are in agreement with me. They are saying, yes, the rich should pay back the money. They should pay that global tax. And, of course, 26% are saying no as yet. So we wonder where the 26%.
You know what concerns me? Let's just read this tweet, and I'll tell you what concerns me. Lawrence Bailey says, yes, they should. We agree with you, Lawrence. You can't make the poor poorer by increasing their tax. The rich must pay a higher tax because they can afford to. They can afford to, Lawrence, but they don't always want to put the money or put the hand in the pocket. You know, it's that thing about short arms and deep pockets. That's a problem that the rich have in the world of us. But my thing is, I've got to beam my bonnet about Davos, because for the last 20 years, we go to Davos and it's all lovely and we see the snow and it's beautiful. And we talk about this inequality gap, but every time we go back, the gap is wider. So is this a whole lot of nonsense, Elvis?
Analyst said yesterday, it's a talk shop, but it's a very important talk shop. But let's hope that something can come out of it, because it's at least a policy direction that's being followed.
There we have it. It's starting to sound like an analyst now. Anyhow, our question of the day today, of course, our former president's grandson, Mbuzo Mandela. He was arrested for contempt of court. We have to point this out, after he allegedly failed to pay maintenance for his child. So we're asking you, Elvis.
Should papgeld, and that's maintenance money,
or alimony,
those defaulters, should they go to prison? That's the question that we pose to you. I'd like to find out from you on the Twitter handle, as well as on the Facebook page. Let us know what's on your mind. That Twitter handle at SABC Newsroom.
Yep, papgeld. We all know what it is. We all know what it does. Should you go to prison?
There's a few people smiling right now. We can see here in studio. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I know. I can see the guilty faces here behind the cameras as we speak. But anyhow, let's get into our work. Time for us to get the news headlines.
Parliament's ad hoc committee probing the SABC is expected to start deliberating and compiling a final report today. Former President Nelson Mandela's grandson, Mbuzo Mandela, is expected to apply for bail in the Johannesburg Magistrates Court today after he was arrested for contempt of court for allegedly failing to appear in court to pay maintenance for his child. They call it papgeld. And story to watch, Gambian President Yahya Jammeh ignores a deadline to step down, with the winner of last month's presidential election, Adam Barrow, expected to be inaugurated today. Now, we expect some developments on that story, and we're going to keep you updated on that story in a short while. But first, let's find out from Kendall Makamate what's happening at another country, starting with GAM, and that's in Gabon. Let's find out. Kendall, good morning to you.
Elvis, why you let the cat out of the bag? Good morning to you. Good morning.
Good morning, mate. Yeah, we got a better spirit this morning. I think we're going to hand the spirit award to Elvis today.
I think we do, especially with the president watching. Good morning to you. How do you do? This is what we've got for you in the sports today.
Now he'll lay it back. Referee's in the way. Goal!
An AFCON Cameroon survivors scare. They come from a goal down against Guinea-Bissau to move top of Group A.
And Cameroon have come from behind.
Third-seeded Milos Raonic pushes through to the third round after dispatching Gilles Miller in straight sets.
That'll do it. Raonic a little too good today for the Sydney champion.
And Formula One's governing body gives its approval to CBC Capital Partners' sale of sports commercial rights to US-based Liberty Media. All this and more we've got for you later on in the Sports Bulletin. Be sure to stick around for it at about 10:40 or so. For now, it is back to Elvis, who's got the news.
Thank you, Kendall. Top story this hour. Parliament's ad hoc committee probing the SABC will start deliberating and compiling a final report today. A working document that was leaked to the media earlier this week recommended that an interim board be appointed urgently. The committee, I beg your pardon, will also consider the United Democratic Movement's request that the SABC's former Chief Operating Officer, Slaudi Motsoeneng, be called to testify before the inquiry. The UDM has asked the committee to reconsider its position that it would not call any further witnesses. Family, friends and community members have appealed for the kidnapped South African photojournalist Shiraz Mohammed's swift release in Syria. Mohammed was captured by a group of unknown gunmen on the 10th of January in the Idlib province. A prayer meeting was held in Lenasia last night.
An impassioned collective plea for Shiraz Mohammed's safe return. And calls for divine intervention. Those close to him distraught and anxious.
Shiraz was a friend, was a brother, was a neighbor, he was everything. He was a very humble person, couldn't hurt anything. All we're asking is for the captors to relieve him because he couldn't even harm a fly.
It's been over a week since Shiraz Mohammed was kidnapped in Syria. His family has thanked South Africans for their continued support, but has appealed for some privacy in this trying and difficult time.
The family is traumatized. We don't know whether he's alive. We don't know whether he's dead. So that additional burden is on the family.
Captured while traveling to the Turkish border, along with 2 Gift of the Givers staffers, the 2 aid workers have since been released. In war-torn Syria, calls for his release have also intensified.
Still, we do not know where Shiraz is. No tribes or clan has said they've got him. No ransom demands have been made already. So at the moment, we're using all the resources, the people of Syria, all the resources we have, still looking for him, but no demands have been made.
For Mohammed's family, hope still flickers. Confident the photojournalist will return home safely. Mangoba Mchunu, SABC News, Lenasia.
Former President Nelson Mandela's grandson, Mbuso Mandela, is expected to apply for bail in the Johannesburg Magistrates Court today. Mandela was arrested for contempt of court after to appear in court for allegedly failing to pay maintenance for his child. Now, he was arrested at his grandfather's house in Houghton in Johannesburg. The child's mother also accused him of wasting 4 million rand awarded to him by his late grandfather. Police issued a warrant for his arrest after he missed the court date, rather. This is also not Mandela's first brush with the law. He was accused of rape in 2015, but those charges were dropped last year. Now, of course, there's that question that we posed to you today. We would like to find out from you, what do you think about defaulters? That is, people not paying their popgeld. There's the question on your screen right now. Should popgeld defaulters be jailed? You can send us your comments on the Twitter handle. But let's find out from Eben if there's any comments from you thus far.
Obviously, quite a few coming in, but you know, for those who are watching outside our borders, popgeld is a real South African term. Pop means porridge, means food, breakfast for children. Money to feed the children, really, is what it's about. Lawrence Bailey comes in, says, Newsroom, but this must be a shared responsibility between mom and dad, and both of them must be held accountable to support the baby. Yes, Lawrence, very sober view there. Bantu comes, he says, Newsroom, they must be jailed. It's so disgusting for a man to be forced to maintain their child. They should be shamed. The hashtag there, popgeld. That's a stern view there from Bantu coming in. Lawrence comes back, he says, yes, put them in jail. They brought a life into this world, so they must provide, and if they don't, they must follow or feel the consequences. Yep, on point there. Keep it coming, guys. Of course, we're also asking a different question, or have a different poll. Go vote on our poll as well at SABC Newsroom. That's where we live this show. But obviously, you've got more news.
That's right, Evan. We're now talking education. The TVET Student Association is threatening to shut down colleges countrywide. Now, complaints include funding, infrastructure, pending results, and outstanding certificates. Now, with limited space at universities, the higher education has been encouraging school leavers to explore technical and vocational education and training colleges as a viable alternative. But a visit to one of them has exposed substandard training facilities.
This is Central Johannesburg College, one of 50 TVET institutions. Automotives and engineering systems among courses on offer here. The workshop, the core of practical training. But it's dirty, poorly equipped and unsafe. 42-year-old Prince Shabanku has been teaching here for 3 years. 30 students are crammed into the workshop with a single toolbox.
We're running with old engines that are not running at all, don't have an engine. It's more like a scrapyard. We can't even cope. We don't have tools. We don't even have a running engine.
Shabangu even brings his own car in for training purposes.
As a parent and understanding my background, as a black person, I understand the need for education. Without education, you don't have a future.
Students are equally frustrated.
We have a motor mechanic, we have the boilers who can weld, but they don't know anything.
The head officials, they must account. They must give us what is ours. We paid all the money our taxpayers has been used here. For what? We need accountability.
TVET colleges are fraught with challenges.
Resources are an issue at a nationwide level, but as a council, that's one of the issues that we have put on the table. Is on our recommendations list to say that the resources that are being given to Alex, particularly specifically, we need to monitor that even going forward.
Students are poised to resort to drastic action.
This shutdown is going to affect all TVET colleges of South Africa because none of those colleges are not affected on those issues that we have submitted to the department since 2012.
Higher education wouldn't comment, saying it's logged in meetings with stakeholders, including student leaders. SABC News, Alexandra.
Now, we told you earlier that we're going to keep you abreast of the story right now that's happening in the Gambia. The Gambian President Yahya Jammeh has ignored a midnight deadline to step down, and troops from other African countries are poised to move into the country to ensure the transfer of power. Jammeh has steadfastly refused to leave office after losing elections last month, despite pressure from other West African states. Nigeria has sent troops and fighter jets to Senegal, whose own forces are massed on the Gambian border. Opposition leader Adama Barrow is due to be sworn in today after defeating Jammeh in the election. Now, he's currently sheltering in Senegal. Thousands of people have fled from the Gambia, including holidaymakers from Britain and Europe. Now, for the latest on that situation on the ground, we are now joined, we are joined here by Advocate Pansy Tlakula, the chair of the Commission on People and Human Rights at the African Union. A very good morning to you, ma'am.
Good morning.
And also Isa Komo, he's an African specialist and analyst here in studio. Mr. Komo, very good morning to you.
Morning, morning.
First and foremostly, you are on the ground. You were there in November. Please, Advocate, give us an update as to what is transpiring in Gambia.
As you know, the headquarters of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights is in Banjul, the Gambia. And I have been traveling to that country for the past 11 years. We were there in November for the session of the Commission. Yesterday, we took a decision in consultation with the chairperson of the AUC, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, to evacuate our staff because the situation was such that we couldn't guarantee their safety. So they have left. We have closed the office. They are at the moment in Senegal. We received unconfirmed reports that the remaining members of the cabinet have been fired. I don't know how far true that is, whether you have heard that. But what you see in the Gambia is a culmination of years of violations of human rights with impunity.
How's that?
If you can go into our website, you will see the number of resolutions that we have passed against the Gambia on the situation of violations of freedom of expression. Many journalists have been imprisoned, some have disappeared. You would recall the case of Chief Ibrahim Mane, the case of Haidara, who was killed. And regarding Ibrahim Mane, a case was brought before the ECOWAS court against the Gambia, according to which the Gambia was ordered to produce Ibrahim Mane and to pay his family compensation. President Jammeh ignored the ruling of the ECOWAS court. So what I'm saying to you is that there's been impunity for many years. He has had problems or challenges with Senegal on issues of customs. So the human rights situation in the Gambia has been problematic for many years. Ever since I joined the commission in 2005, I had been dealing with the situation of the Gambia.
Why has the AU been so slow in making sure that these type of human abuses does not happen?
The challenge that we have as the Commission is that we submit our reports to the AU through the summit. And it is at that level where we have challenges on the implementation of the recommendations that we have made. We have made many recommendations on the Gambia. The latest resolution that we adopted against the Gambia was in November. Last year, after I met Mrs. Dabo, the wife of the opposition leader who was in jail, and informed us about his medical condition, about the number of women belonging to the opposition who were in prison, who were raped. You'd recall that 2 people were arrested, members of the opposition. I think it was a groomer and another one who were arrested during the peaceful demonstration in April last year. So it's a whole host of human rights violations that have gone on for many years with impunity.
Now, Isaac, you've been following this story for quite a while, and you know also a lot about the area. Tell us about the person in charge right now, Jammeh, and how did it come that he is in power? Because he's the man that mentioned that he will be in power for a million or a billion years, is it?
Yeah. Well, he first came in through a military coup. Yeah, and with that, he's sort of, in fact, he was very popular with that military coup. He overthrew Dawda Jawara, yeah, a very democratic man. But all the same, with time, as advocates said, he became very sort of dictatorial. And all what was said here is exactly what happened. In fact, it's even worse. It will be remembered about last year that he actually sort of hanged some 2 prisoners, yeah, and there was a very big outcry, international outcry. Yeah, but he just continued and he just hanged them. So basically, he's a dictator. So when you ask him how he came into power, through a military coup, and after that, he actually did two things. He did one thing. He actually went and filled with the centers of power. Yeah, he filled with the parliament, where he actually made sure that through the laws, that all parliamentarians were there, were beholden to him. Yeah, it's a sort of situation that we have got here. If you do not toe the line, you're out as a parliamentarian. He actually filled with the justice system. Now, the independence of the judiciary. Now, you should understand that the Gambians, the preferred profession of the elites, it's the legal profession. They produce very sort of prominent legal specialists in West Africa. Yeah, even Fatou Bensouda is one of them.
Yes.
Yeah, but then you find that the Chief Justice of the Gambia is not a Gambian. Most of the Gambian judges have moved out. So basically, he has filled with the centralized power. Yeah, the independence of the judiciary is not there. The independence of the legislature is not there. The institutions have been disturbed. The media has been disturbed. Yeah, the media people are the people who really suffered, who bore the brunt. Yeah, they've been killed, basically. When you talk of these disappearances, they've been taking place, I think, from about 2007, 2005. Yeah, it's not a new thing. So that is the situation.
Yeah, but
Advocate Takula, if I can just come in and ask you something. On social media, there's a sense from users that the African Union is a little bit under pressure here. They need to set an example. Do you have that same sense that there's a focus now on the African Union to see if they can see justice to be done?
I think so, because if President Jammeh is allowed to continue to ignore institutions such as ECOWAS and the AU, then we are in trouble. It means that we will be, or the African Union will be endorsing his long practice of impunity. So I think this is the time when all eyes are on ECOWAS and on the African Union to see how they're going to proceed with the situation today. But from my point of view is that I think we must try by all means to pursue diplomatic, find a diplomatic solution to the problem. Because if the African Union, ECOWAS, is to deploy the military, you must remember that President Jammeh himself is a soldier in civilian clothes. And he will fight. And lives will be lost. The Gambia will return to conflict. People will die, and to rebuild that country will take a long time.
Now, Isaac, Nigeria has sent troops, and there's fighter jets to Senegal, and their own forces are also standing by on the Gambian border. Is this not perhaps a threat to the democracy that the Gambia is supposed to enjoy, and perhaps on their independence as an independent state?
It's got nothing to do with democracy. If there was anything to do, maybe it would be with sovereignty. But I mean,
sovereignty,
to say now, with the sovereignty, basically, we've got that's a regional body of ECOWAS, and it's like the EU. You know, with the EU and things like the ECOWAS, you surrender some bit of your sovereignty, being part of that union, and also being a member of the AU. Yeah. So basically, what is happening is that people are actually restoring democracy. Yeah. So the measure of sovereignty cannot be. I mean, and also it's another thing of right to protect. Yeah. The man is a tyrant. Yeah, these are human rights issues. But again, I would say something. With the whole issue, I would also like to point to sort of an interest, not interest, but view to the fact that the Gambian thing was mishandled by the opposition coalition. It will be remembered that when the election results were announced, and it was announced that he had lost the elections, he conceded defeat, and he congratulated Barrow.
So what should have happened then?
No, but what should have happened, the people should have kept quiet. I'll tell you what happened. What happened then, the opposition was so elated that they actually sort of started giving interviews with international media. And also, I interviewed Mr. Wa Juara. He's an opposition leader, yeah, and he's been detained by Jammeh. But the things that they're coming up with, okay, they've got a right to speech. They're saying that they're going to rejoin the Commonwealth. There's nothing wrong with that. They said they're going to join the ICC. There's nothing wrong with that. But then they said they're going to drag Yahya Jammeh to the ICC. Now, why do you do that when the man is still in power? Yeah, they actually said it openly. They said it on Al Jazeera. They said it on my program. Yeah, I've got it taped. Yeah. Now, I thought that was a bit naive. And that's what happened, made him turn over. And again, I mean to say that now that the man is actually sort of taken over power and refusing to leave, it's actually sort of to try to preempt that issue of him being taken to the ICC. Yeah.
Advocate, will he face those charges of human rights abuses?
Well, who will charge him? We'll see what the AU is going to do. The summit, as you know, is starting on Sunday. I will be going to the summit to present the report of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, and it contains a resolution against the Gambia. We'll see. I think we all have to wait and see how ECOWAS and the AU is going to handle the Gambian situation.
So today is a very critical day, isn't it?
It is. But, you know, President Jammeh is a very stubborn man. I'm hoping that he will listen to the voice of reason and do the right thing, because it cannot be that people should die because one man wants to hold on to power.
Isaac, in closing, what do you expect today?
Well, in closing, I think, unfortunately, as Advocate said, the military option, it will be the only option. And with that, Jammeh will be arrested. And I think but he definitely will be taken to the ICC. It's the end game that's there. But unfortunately, Jammeh's got a very big support on the ground, and that again it will bode well for the unity of the Gambia. So there's a lot of work which is there in Barrow's hands. Yeah.
Mr. Como, as well as Advocate Tlakula, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence and giving us an update.
Thanks for having us.
There you have it. That's the latest on the Gambia. At 11 o'clock, we'll continue with that discussion on the Gambia. What will happen today? That's another question. Advocate Pansy Tlakula, she's the chair of the Commission on People and Human Rights at the African Union, as well as Mr. Isaac Como. He is an African specialist joining us in studio on a regular basis to contribute to the story. Now, let's take a look at what's happening on social media with Eben.
Yeah, thank you very much, Travis. A very good morning to you. We'll keep you updated as to what's happening in the Gambia. The country's on tenterhooks. Thousands and thousands of people have fled the shores, have gone through the borders there. We'll show you some pictures shortly, but let's have a look at what are the top hashtags that are doing the rounds in the news space on social media. We'll start with this one. Yes, the hashtag Ford Cougar, because of all the memes doing the round. Well, Nando's, they've confirmed to us that this particular advert is a fake. Yes, we used it yesterday, and they've been in contact with us here on Newsroom saying, guys, this was not us, this is a fake. Therefore, we at Newsroom, well, we apologize for using it, but we live in a time of social media, and you know, fake news is all around us. You can hardly see what's real and what is not anymore. But if we've caused any offense by running this exact picture, sorry, Nando's. Then, moving further afield, for the most anticipated story this week, what will happen in Gambia? Hashtag Gambia, mind you, today. Of course, today is meant to be the inauguration of the rightful winner of the election there, Adama Barrow. However, incumbent President Yahya Jammeh has refused to step down and says he will continue to rule. But as a precaution of being forcefully removed, or if violence breaks out, his private plane is there, it's ready, it's fueled and good to go to leave the country if that happens. Now, tourists and expats have been asked to leave as a safety precaution. This was an image taken at the Gambian airport. There are also images coming through from various border posts in the country as thousands and thousands of people are trying to get out of the Gambia right now. As we speak, the country is on tenterhooks. But all is well on the African continent when football is being played. Hashtag AFCON 2017. Cameroon came from behind and took their fans by surprise when they beat Guinea-Bissau by 2-1. Yeah, wonderful. Finally, they're starting to score some goals. Then coming back home, yeah, that's us. That's where we broadcast from, that building, the blue one right there on the 3rd floor. That's where we are. SABC inquiry, hashtag, is expected to resume today. They'll be deliberating on the draft document of their report before finalizing their outcomes. We know that you guys are keen on getting the outcomes. Here's the hashtag now. SABC inquiry. As soon as they've deliberated and come up with something concrete, we will broadcast it. We've been trying to find out if this is being done live. As far as I know right now, it's not. So let's move to the US now. Of course, there's another inauguration in the offing. That's tomorrow. President-elect until tomorrow, Donald Trump. Well, many celebrities, Democrats, and other high-standing members of society said they will not be attending. But our very own Steve Hofmeyr, the father of the nation, says that he is a Trump fan and would perform at the inauguration. The hashtag to follow there is Trump inauguration. A story was doing the rounds yesterday that Steve Hofmeyr says He believes white people suffering genocide here in South Africa, and he wants to address this with Donald Trump. Of course, we move on to our question of the day today. Yes, Mbuso Mandela, he's back in court, not for papgeld specific, but for contempt of court. We have to make the distinction. Now, we ask you, should #papgeld defaulters be jailed? Should they go to jail straight away? If you don't pay for your child, should you go to prison? Let's have a look at what you guys are saying about it. It's something I'm sure that everyone has a view on. Monwabisi Monda, he says, Newsroom, they must be jailed. You can't run away from your responsibilities. To the point. Mbongeniseni Nyati, he says, yes, they should be arrested. If you bring a life into this world, you have to make sure it lives well. Says Mr. Nyati. Lorenzo Bailey says, Newsroom, yes, they can't just run away from their responsibilities because it's a dad's job to provide for his family. Is that still the case in today's world? I thought it's more acceptable now to be a, what do you call this thing now, Elvis? Stay-at-home dad?
Stay-at-home dad.
Stay-at-home dad. I was auditioning for that job, actually. My wife is having none of it. So I have to appear here before you to try and bring home the bacon, as it were. Now, our picture of the day. This one comes from Musa at Muvilikazi, and it's captioned, "We are your engines, Pastor. Give us the engine cleaning fluid. It tastes like honey." Now, this is just the latest in a whole line of crazy stories of pastors giving people doom and spraying them with doom. And yeah, this guy is drinking engine cleaner. Is it? Yeah, it's engine cleaner. Please be aware of the products being used by your pastor. Engine cleaning fluid and doom have chemicals that can do you serious harm over the years and months and years to come. So please don't drink engine fluid and don't take the doom spray in your face, because it doesn't really work. Now, our comment of the day on a serious note, Gambia has decided, who says, an unprecedented exodus of Gambia. Very sad. We will not waver. We push on. Gambia has decided. Of course, President-elect there, Adama Barrow, he's in Senegal at the moment, waiting to assume the seat of power in the Gambia. On this very channel, we'll keep you updated how that develops. Of course, you saw the interview with Pansi Kakula and Isaac Como saying, well, this Yahya Jammeh guy is a very stubborn man, and he's not really listening to anyone. He's a soldier, so the country is really sitting on a powder keg at the moment. Let's hope that they can find diplomatic solutions for today. Of course, there's an inauguration supposed to be taking place there today. Coming back home now, the courts here in Johannesburg will start with former President Nelson Mandela's grandson, Mbuso Mandela. He's expected to apply for bail in the Johannesburg Magistrates Court. Mandela was arrested for contempt of court after he allegedly failed to appear in court to pay maintenance for his child. The child's mother also accused him of wasting 4 million rand awarded to him by his late grandfather. Of course, that's the one that we've been asking you the question on. Should defaulters, should they go to prison? If you don't pay papgeld maintenance or alimony, as it's known, should you go to prison? What is your view? At SABC Newsroom is where you can tell us. We're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back, we escalate the conversation. We talk about the inequality gap, the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. Should the rich pay more tax? After the break.
News Today provide news updates giving a wealth of knowledge. Breaking stories and crossing live for you. We follow business developments intensely. Experts and analysts tackle all challenging issues for you. We cover stories locally and abroad to keep you informed. We cover all sporting codes just for you. We are sure to give you weather to be ready for the day. Stay tuned to News Today at 3 p.m. from Monday to Friday on SABC News.
Now to shift our focus to what is happening in Davos, and we all know that South African small businesses should brace themselves for a tough year ahead. Economists are predicting a bleak picture for the South African economy. The country continues to experience the slowest growth out of all the major economies in the region.
2017 is not going to be smooth sailing for SMMEs. The International Monetary Fund predicts that South Africa's GDP will grow only marginally at 0.8%, lower than the 1% forecast in July. Various outlets will have to keep up with input costs as imported raw materials are expensive.
I think given the fact that the consumer is completely stretched, and the fact that the global challenges, particularly the election of Mr. Trump, as well as the exiting of Britain from the UK, from the European Union, brings quite a lot of challenges for business globally. So South Africa won't be isolated.
The country's agricultural sector has been hit by drought. Recent rainfalls couldn't have come at a better time, but was it enough to save the ailing economy?
And not yet. I think what we've seen is that in many areas in South Africa, rains came in late, although they've come in torrentially. So some farmers didn't plant as much as we expected them to. I think the stability will only happen the following year when there's certainty about weather and really the recovery in agriculture is strengthened.
Consumer inflation is likely to remain high at around 5.7%. Real GDP growth is expected to be 1.6%, which has been revised down from previous estimates of 1.7% in 2016, increasing to 2.1% in 2017. The South African Reserve Bank expects inflation to average 5.8% this year, with economists estimating the repo rate to hit 7.05% later in the year. Colin Limawani, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Yeah, it's not just South Africa facing or being under the pump, as it were. It's day 3 of the 2017 World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. Now, before the annual meeting, the WEF released a statement that the gap between the rich and the poor was behind the United Kingdom's Brexit vote and Donald Trump's election victory in the United States. Rising income inequality and the polarization of societies also pose a risk to the global economy in 2017 and could result in the rolling back of globalization unless urgent action is taken. Now, that's according to the World Economic Forum itself. The organization said fundamental reform of capitalism may be needed to tackle public anger. In his opening address, Chinese President Xi Jinping said nobody would win if there was a trade war tomorrow. Now, in what's likely to be seen as a rebuke to President-elect, US President-elect, mind you, Donald Trump's promise to defend America against Chinese exports and make them great again. Now, in the studio, we are joined by the Chief Economist at Investment Solutions, Lesiba Motata, to talk about Davos and South Africa's outlook. Very good morning to you, Lesiba.
Hi, Eamon. How's it?
Very good. Nice to have you with us, as always.
100%.
Nice to have your considered views. I hope you're going to step out into the cold today and take a chance.
Let's do that. Let's try.
let's start with our question of the day, because we're running a poll, and I want to get your view on this, because this is at the heart of everything. The gap between the rich and the poor is just getting bigger and bigger, despite this talk shop that happens in Davos every year. Yeah. That's what we asked our viewers. Should the rich pay a wealth tax globally? What do you say?
Yeah, look, it's clear that increasingly those that are rich become richer, and the poor, who are now expressing their anger or discontentment about what is happening in the electoral elections that we see elsewhere in the world. Trump was an example, Brexit was another. The larger Europe, most of this year, will see that happening. Indeed, one needs to think about that. A wealth tax, however, needs to be considered in context of a specific country. It's one thing to say everyone needs to be paying more. I do think that it's not ideal where you find Warren Buffett in the US says, you know what, I pay less tax than my secretary. And that is not ideal where you find that the less the marginalized are paying a lot more tax than the rich. That needs to be dealt with, and there should be higher taxes for those who that earn more. But it really goes from one country to another.
Yeah.
There isn't one sweeping fiscal policy or tax structure that can be constructed.
Okay, so it's not going to happen. Let's then talk about globalization and this trade war that is looming on the back of Trump's election. And let's call it the rise of the right wing. Make America great again.
Yeah, you know, we are in an unprecedented world. The World Economic Forum, it's a seminal congregation of all these world leaders for having had the Chinese president come and speak for the first time in the history of China and its global influence, to have him come and address the audience at the World Economic Forum. It gives us that signature saying, this is now a new world. And with what is happening here, we need to think about how to respond. We have a president who has tweeted more than 250 tweets over the December period.
Yeah.
And what he
obviously
says...
needs a hobby.
Well, it's quite a different outcome. And it's one thing to play politics, and he has gained a lot of audience as a result.
Yeah.
And it's another to get into the economics of it, because politics can influence economics.
Yes.
But it does not necessarily mean that politics could always be good economics.
Yes, absolutely.
Because,
now, we're talking about inequality right here in the same space. Every year we talk at Davos about closing this gap, and every year this gap gets bigger. Is there any way of addressing inequality without going the Karl Marx route of revolution?
There are ways. For example, in the South African context, it's even more exaggerated. And it's seen in the lives of everyone that you look at. When you spend time at the periphery of what we see in Johannesburg, it's even more tangible. What needs to happen is we need to prioritize growth. We need to make sure that it's a lot more inclusive than it is at this point in time. And we need a lot more vigilant, I think, policy construction that makes sure that we don't settle for a 1% GDP growth, but a much higher than that. The only way out of an unequal society is to grow the economy faster.
Yep, that's the conundrum that we're trapped in. So, that said, the World Bank says we're going to grow only 1.1% in 2017. What is the outlook according to you, and what should we be concerned about here in South Africa?
A better outlook than last year. Remember, we were only barely doing 0.5% in GDP growth. Household consumption expenditure could be better as inflation improves. Despite the high number that we've seen yesterday at 6.8%, the outlook is that inflation is likely to fall. That will open up a purchasing power from the pockets of many people, and that will boost economic growth, right? Also, there could be some contribution from investments. Business confidence may turn around. This looming downgrade seemingly has abated. We're likely not to see a lot more of that discussion as we continue. With all that, we need a lot more growth at 1%, but it's not sufficient enough to deal with the needs of the country. It is, however, a better outcome than we had in 2016.
I can't let you go without asking you the story. My story of the week, the one that stood out, was Moody's, who are now going to pay a $2.2 billion fine for admitting to being dodgy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They admit to being dodgy, but now all the BRICS economies have been targeted by these ratings agencies. You told me, oh no, this is not true. Oh, it is true. They are targeting the BRICS economies, and the way that they're talking is they talk our economies down, and they're being used as a political tool. Your comments?
Well, let's think about what has happened. Moody's is now the second rating agency after Standard & Poor's that was found wanting over the 2008 crisis. It is a well-known fact that not only rating agencies, but a lot of banks, which will include Deutsche, that received a $15 billion fine, notwithstanding the list of others, Wells Fargo, Bank of America. All these banks have been levied with penalties as a result of what happened in 2008. What is coming out now with rating agencies it was already well known. And there has been reform
So
from
we
rating
know that they're
agencies.
dodgy, but we still trust them implicitly.
We kind of need someone to look at where we are and give a rating for investments. There is talk of a BRICS rating agency.
That was the next one.
There's discussion whether there's merit of it or not, whether it will work at this point or not. The world as we have it now is that rating agencies are found wanting, and we know that fact. And what's going on now is they have to pay, and they're paying. But we need rating agencies. We still need to listen to what they have to say, because there's a huge amount of money invested in bonds, and we need to know what the rating is on such things.
Lesiba, I love listening to you. You have a very soothing voice, but I don't always agree with what you say.
No problem.
Lovely to have Lesiba Matata with us. He's the Chief Economist at Investment Solutions here in South Africa, and we've spoken about, well, everything, including Davos 2017 and South Africa's economic outlook for the year ahead. It's not great, but it is what it is. Now, let's take a look at your comments on our poll. Of course, we're asking you, should the rich, should they pay more? Should they pay tax around the world? And the extrovert says, Newsroom, yes, they should. Pay as you earn, Baba. I love that. Pay as you earn, yes. Lovely. That means Lesiva is going to pay a lot because he's now in the rich there. No, Lawrence Bailey. Lawrence Bailey says, Newsroom, yes, they should. You can't make the poor poorer by increasing their tax. The rich must pay a higher tax because they can afford to. Wonderful. Then Lawrence comes back. He says, where does tax money go? I guess some of it is made for good use and the rest goes into the pockets of government officials. That's the case all around the world, Lawrence. It is our duty as civil society, the media and everyone, to make sure that this does not happen. That is our duty and yours. And we live in the time of social media, so you have as much right as I do to attack those sources. Now, moving on, let's have a look at the front pages from around the globe quickly. We'll start in the United Kingdom, where The Guardian reports the war of words between China and Donald Trump flared up again as China urged the US not to let a Taiwanese delegation attend his inauguration. Then in, New York, not in New York, the Washington Post says President-elect Donald Trump's choices to lead Commerce, Health and Human Services and the Office of Management and Budget face the kinds of problems that have torpedoed cabinet-level nominees in the past. Then, finally, in Australia, The Australian reports that families of Australians lost on MH370, the Malaysian air flight, expressed outrage at the airline over the timing of a photo posted of two happy pilots. That's some of the front pages from around the world. Of course, it's Trumponomics, it seems. It's on the front page everywhere. Yes, it'll be inaugurated tomorrow. Let's just have a look now at what's on our Facebook page. Yeah, at home, actually in the Western Cape, tough new water restrictions in Cape Town could be announced as early as next week. Here, city authorities say they are concerned about the high water consumption in the Cape, despite the lack of rain, and the people are not listening in Cape Town. Cape Town, you have to use less water. You've got 100 days left, and the rains are only expected to come in about 3 months. So you're going to cut it very fine, Cape Town. Start using less water. Then we see KwaZulu-Natal police have brought in a team of seasoned detectives to investigate a spate of robberies at jewelry stores in the province over the past 2 weeks. Finally, President-elect, I'm getting sick of this term, Donald Trump will enter the highest office in Washington tomorrow, sharply critical of the US intelligence community, which he has accused of spreading fake news, compared them to Nazi Germany, while only recently conceding that Russia carried out cyber attacks that might have undermined the presidential race last year. All of those and more on our Facebook page or our website, sabc.co.za/news. That's where you get all the latest. But we're not done with the World Economic Forum yet. Of course, everything is happening right now in Davos. They're talking about our future. Elvis is going to get another considered view now.
Yes, Eben, that's correct, because we're also asking you the question on the poll. We want to know from you about this wealth tax. Do you think that there's merit in the case? Let us know what's on your mind. That poll, you can vote on that one and take a stab at what you think is probably the solution to this growing gap of inequality But after this, we'll take a short break. And are we still taking a break? No, we're going straight to our next interview. The 2017 World Economic Forum takes place under a totally different and ever-changing political situation. Now, in the run-up to the 4 days meeting, the stakes were already high. As expected, China, the election of Donald Trump, and Brexit was set to dominate this year's proceedings in Davos. Chinese President Xi Jinping was expected to defend free trade and globalization. Theresa May, the UK Prime Minister, on the eve of the meeting, had to outline her vision of the UK's economic relationship with the European Union after Brexit. Will she make Brexit greater again? Meanwhile, Donald Trump, who has spoken out against international trade deals, takes office tomorrow. Now, to spell out how the unfolding political landscape have an influence on the proceedings that we see in Davos, we are joined from Cape Town by our political analyst, Sanusha Naidu. A very good morning to you, Sanusha, and welcome.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Now, in my introduction, I talk about all these changes and the things that will be discussed at Davos. Do you think that the world is in for very interesting times in 2017 and beyond?
Indeed, I think it is. I think, you're going into a new year with the mark of the World Economic Forum. And the founder of the World Economic Forum in his opening address actually mentioned that the world has fundamentally changed from the time in which both the World Economic Forum has been created, as well as in terms of the last couple of years, several to 10 years. I think specifically after the 2008 financial crisis, we've seen very different trends emerge out of the global economy. And one of the key things that's been discussed at the World Economic Forum, as well as even before, is whether or not globalization has created enough benefits for all countries in the world for the global economy. So there's a debate at the World Economic Forum parallel to what's going on in terms of questioning the impact of what happened with the election of Donald Trump in the US, and whether we're going to see a more protectionist US economic policy towards global trade. The first time a Chinese president has addressed the World Economic Forum and talking about the fact that we cannot afford to become protectionist, etc. But I think that there's been a big debate about the actual benefits and pros and cons of globalization, and there's been a defense of globalization by the Chinese President Xi Jinping in his address, where he talked about the fact that economies are interdependent. We cannot afford to become isolationist. Some saw it as a subtle criticism leveled against Donald Trump's proposed economic policy. And then, of course, there's the whole Brexit. But I think it's more than that. The World Economic Forum is also talking about the fourth economic revolution or industrial revolution, which is about manual labor, or basically human labor, versus the introduction of machinery. And that again has raised questions about, in countries like for South Africa, for example, if we want to create 11 million jobs, how are we going to do that if there's now a debate about replacing human labor with machinery?
Now, looking at the situation with Trumponomics and Donald Trump being inaugurated tomorrow, how will this affect the China-US relations, you think? Because, as you indicated, Xi Jinping did talk about globalization.
Yeah, I think to some extent there's been quite a few interesting tweets that the president-elect has made, Donald Trump, about curbing the so-called impact that the Chinese have on the U.S. economy. He talked about the currency manipulation. He talked about bringing jobs back to America and so forth. I think the first thing is that we must bear in mind that both the U.S. economy and the Chinese economy are very interdependent. If you're looking at the way in which the debt works in terms of the U.S. economy and the debt that they have in the context of the Chinese being their creditors, I think that's going to be a critical, if not a fundamental issue. Because to be quite honest, the Chinese are going to be equally worried about the impact that this will have on the dollar, and where do they sell their dollars. The only country that buys US dollars at the moment in terms of being able to basically afford the kinds of quantities that we're talking about, is it's going to be spent in the US. So obviously these are going to be critical issues. There's also a sense coming out from some experts that all of this fiery talk coming out from being tweeted and speeches that Donald Trump has been making in the run-up to his inauguration, is that it may actually be quite subtle at the end of the day, that it may not be as fiery as he's putting out these markers to be, but rather end up to become quite a subtle, so it won't actually be, people will be looking for the actual doomsday scenario, but it'll actually be something quite different. But again, we're not sure. It's unpredictable. And I think for the Chinese, it's also not just about the economics. It's about the fact that Donald Trump has basically, shown that the one China policy, which the US has subtly abided by from the 1970s around Taiwan, is actually one of those critical areas that will impact on Sino-US relations. And that in itself, I think, is something that the Chinese are looking at very, very significantly and very critically, and looking at it in a very, very critical and significant manner, because for them to have a country that actually, like the US, to say, well, we're not going to really go with the one China policy, we're going to actually open up these different diplomatic channels of discussion with Taiwan, means that China's broader one China policy that includes the territorial claims that it's making is actually now under the spotlight. And I think for a country like China, and for a government of Xi Jinping, which is really about domestic political stability, forging ahead with economic reforms. We know that Xi Jinping has just been given the label of core leader status, which has only been done 3 times in the past, from Mao Zedong to Deng Xiaoping, and of course Jiang Zemin. These are critical things. So I think to a large extent it's beyond just the economics. But again, I think it's going to be important for US corporates to look at this and say, how does this affect us? Because most of these companies that are basically producing in China, or now have moved production out of China because of the rising labor costs. But again, it's important for them to look at it and the impact this is going to have. It may be very interesting to also have as a watching brief to see how many of Donald Trump's so-called companies, or where he has economic interest in companies that are actually located in China, and how this may actually play out. So I think it's still very interesting, but I think at the end of the day, once Donald Trump comes into office, we've got to look and see what will be his economic policy.
Sanusha, thank you so much. There's still a lot more questions because there's a lot more to discuss, but unfortunately we're out of time. Thank you so much for joining us in our Cape Town studio.
Pleasure, thank you.
Now that was political analyst Sanusha Naidu joining us from our Cape Town studios. That's where we got to leave it for now. We'll be back at the top of the hour, so you have to stay tuned. We're asking you that question. Should there be a wealth tax on our poll for the rich? Let us know what's on your mind. Let's take a break.
ANC moved to ease tensions created by the heated public spat between National Treasury and Eskom.
Eskom denied allegations of impropriety regarding the matter. National Treasury issued a statement accusing Eskom of lying.
The fracas over hairstyles at a Pretoria school has drawn sharp focus on underlying racism and alleged abuse in some schools.
We want relevant answers from the MEC. You must fire the principal.
Here too, similar sentiments of underlying racism.
It just made me feel like I was not worthy enough of an education because of the type of hairstyle that I had. Because yesterday the statement was, writing an exam is a privilege.
We make sure to be where news is happening,
both locally and globally. For the latest business news, stay with us.
From South Africa to the world, we've got all your latest sporting news.
Don't miss our weather updates at every hour.
Stay tuned to News Today, Monday to Friday, from 3 to 5:30 p.m. here on SABC News.
Yeah, hello again, everybody. It's just gone 10 o'clock Central African time. Good morning, Kendall.
Very good morning to you, and a hearty good morning to all of our viewers out there.
Yeah, great to be with you, of course, today. Our focus is on the global wealth disparity, rising income inequality, and the polarization of societies that could pose a risk to the global economy. Yes, it's Davos, isn't it? So we're conducting a poll, and we've been asking you, Kendall, should the rich pay a wealth tax globally?
You know what, because I'm not wealthy, I think we should, but let's actually hear what our viewers are saying. Our viewers, 165 votes have come in, and 74% say yes, absolutely, wealth tax should be paid globally by the rich.
Let's see what the tweet, we've got a tweet that's just come in. Lawrence is back, he says, yes, they should. You can't make the poor poorer by increasing their tax. The rich must pay a higher tax because they can afford to. That's where we are with regards to what's happening in Davos. We're talking about inequality, yes. But we also have a question of the day, and we're focusing on former President Nelson Mandela's grandson, Mbuzo Mandela. Of course, he's arrested for contempt of court, after he allegedly failed to pay maintenance for his child. So, the question is a fair one, isn't it?
I think it's a fair one, and we're asking, should papgeld defaulters go to prison? Now, I heard you earlier on explaining exactly what papgeld is. In case anybody missed it, it is exactly that. Maintenance.
Yes,
for
alimony.
Children. Alimony. Should they go to jail or not?
Sia, he says, Newsroom, jail won't solve the problem. If employed, money must be deducted from the salary. Yes, Sia, that's a good one. But how do you then get to the guy who doesn't want to work? He must be forced to go work.
Orandumela says, remedial action is required, not jail. Perturbed that why is she's worried about the 4 mil?
4 million, of course, yeah, in this case, Mbuzo's ex, she said that Madiba put 4 million in the will for the child and Mbuzo spent it. I don't know about that story, or how do you, surely it would have been in the will at the time that it was read and so forth, but that anyhow.
And then we've got another one from Ndizwanenele. Says, first we have to perform DNA on all new babies because we will end up raising kids that we do not father.
Yep, very, very interesting one. Now, of course, the big story today. In Parliament, well, the Portfolio Committee, they're deliberating about the report on the SABC. Yes, the SABC. Once again, we are in the crosshairs. Let's go directly to Parliament. Now, Vincent Smith is ready. They're going to start finalising or wrapping up this procedure with regards to the inquiry into the matters here at the SABC. Vincent Smith presiding.
Sing. Ciao. Second on the agenda, as you have proposed it, Chair, on the items that you have put, it's not much. Thank you. Honourable Singh.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. No, I agree with the proposed agenda, save that I think, Chair, we must afford ourselves an opportunity to have a discussion on how and possibly who leaks this working document outside of this committee. I think it's important that we begin to trust each other implicitly, not only as members, but as the staff handling affairs of this committee. And I think we need to have a discussion on that. Thank you.
That's fine. We will try and incorporate that in the opening remarks, and then people could talk to it, if that's fair enough. So can we move that the agenda is adopted? Just to repeat, opening and welcomes, that will try and incorporate what Honourable Singh is requesting. Apologies, additional witnesses, as requested by Honourable Kwankwa. Agreeing on how exactly we're going to go and do our work from today going forward, and then final deliberation. So that is the agenda, honourable members, that has been adopted and will be stuck to. So So as maybe we should start with apologies first, and then we'll do the opening. Are there any apologies, Sandy, or anybody? Any apologies? None? Full attendance, thank you very much. Yeah, honourable members, in welcoming everybody here, and in response to Mr. Singh's request, maybe it's important, honourable members, to sketch the context, and members then can discuss and take it from there. The issue raised by Mr. Singh that resulted in the media hype, for want of a better word, please excuse me, needs to be put into context. And the first point that I'd want to raise is that if we go back to Friday, we indicated on Friday that we will draft a working document which will be circulated to members by the end of business on Monday, so that members can take that working document to their caucuses. In fact, we said it was to whoever you wanted to take it to assist members in applying their minds. That was agreed to on Friday. So when we woke up yesterday and saw media headlines across all media houses and institutions almost, highlighting ad hoc committee document leaked, or making inferences that the document was leaked, implies that this document was embargoed. Because if you say leaked, it implies that this document was embargoed. And there's nothing further from the truth if you try and reconcile it with what I said earlier on. We gave it to members. We said to members, go and consult. And by implication, go and consult meant that this document is not embargoed. So this notion of a leaked document can't be correct. And I think it was correct that we did it in the fashion that we did it, because from day one we have been consistent as this ad hoc committee that we will champion the principle of transparency. And we've done so. So by virtue of being transparent, this notion of a leak does not exist, or does not even arise. And therefore, honourable members and everybody else, it is our, or certainly my humble appeal to the media in particular, to assist us in reporting responsibly and accurately. Because we made it very clear on Friday, the process. And if people bothered to go and look at what we've agreed upon, I don't think there would have been this hysteria about leaking of documents. That is from where I'm sitting. And we shouldn't then try and make life difficult, I think, for ad hoc committee members. From where I'm sitting, and honourable members will comment, I'll allow them to comment. From where I'm sitting, I still have total confidence that members are still true to what we've said earlier on, and I still think that we're working as a team. But of course, if there is somebody that made it public consciously, then that person, I think his or her conscience will talk to them. But from where I'm sitting, this notion of a leak just does not arise. So I thought we'd say that as part of reporting to you. The second point that I'd want to make, Honorable Singh, and maybe not related to the issue that you raised specifically. I think in our deliberations, honorable members, our main objective has to be that the final product of our deliberations should contribute towards the stop in the decline of the SABC. That should be our primary objective, the stop in the decline of the SABC. And it has never been about this committee pronouncing innocence or guilt of any individual. It has never been about innocence or guilt of any individual. So the expectation that this committee would come and say Mr. X or Ms. X is guilty, I think misses the point of our primary objective, which is to stop the decline and a step further to assist the incumbents and or those that will be the incumbents in terms of focus areas, in ensuring that the interests of South Africans takes precedence in terms of service delivery of the SABC. That has been our primary objective. And therefore, honorable members, in everything that we do, our behavior and in our posture, I want to appeal to members that we keep those two primary goals in mind, that it's about the people of South Africa, that it's about arresting the decline of the SABC, and that our own political orientation should be secondary to that of the people and that of the country. I thought I'd make those opening remarks, honorable members, so that we continue to do the best that we can and that the end product is something that we can defend against any sort of criticism. There will be weaknesses. We have no doubt that we are not perfect, but at least we would have given it our best shot. I thought I'd use that as an opening remark, honorable members, so that we demystify this notion of any leaks. Certainly from my point, I don't see that as a crisis, and that we focus our minds in terms of what is it that we are expected to do from today going forward until the conclusion of our work on the 28th of February. Having said that, Honorable Singh, if there's still something that you would want to contribute or anybody else wants to contribute, let's open it up for that very briefly, and then we'll move on to the next agenda item. Any comments? Let's start with Mr. Singh because he raised it, and then we'll take Honorable Swartz. Please remember your numbers because we're not going in order. It'll be Singh, it'll be Swartz, it will be Loliwe, it will be Kubise, and then it will be Chauke, and hopefully we can close it at that point. Honorable Singh.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you for your remarks there. You know, that the jury is out on the contents of the report is unfortunate. I watched a certain television station yesterday where they made certain recommendations which they thought we had excluded. But I think what you've said is quite pertinent, that this is not an official document of the committee. It is still a working document, and people need to respect the fact that it's a working document and that we as a committee still have time to apply our minds to the contents of this document, because as I sit here, we have a number of suggestions which will come at the later appropriate time. on how the document could be improved. But I think I like what you said in terms of what is our role. Our role is to ensure the sustainability of the SABC moving forward, learning from the mistakes of the past, and also ensuring that whoever comes in, the interim board, the main board, the minister, respect what the court has ruled on issues relating to the SABC, respect the findings of the public protector, which have not been challenged and taken on review, ensure that the recommendations of the Auditor General, all those recommendations are acted upon. And this is something, and also ICASA made recommendations. And this is something I think so far we've found lacking in terms of implementation of all these recommendations that have been made by various bodies. And I agree with you that that's where our focus should be, not on individuals, but on the institution of SABC, which is a public broadcaster. So thank you for clearing up your side of the quote-unquote leak. Thank you.
Honourable Swartz.
Thank you, Chair. Very briefly, I think you emphasised correctly the issue of openness and transparency and what we are here for to improve the board and to make recommendations going forward. I think the key aspect that you focused on is that it was a working document. None of us had approved it. It hadn't served before us. So when I was approached by media to engage in the contents of it, I said, this is not a committee decision yet. It's a working document. And so I think it's the openness and transparency I fully support. I think it's also important to emphasize that we will be deliberating on that working document. We will present a report which will then be forwarded to those affected. I think that is a key point in terms of fairness, in terms of audi alteram partem. And even this report that we deliberate on might well be amended once we've received inputs from those affected persons. So I think it's important to emphasize the process going forward. And it will only be a final document at that stage when we vote on it as a committee. Thank you, Chair.
Honourable Oliver.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, I agree with what you have indicated. Only to add that I understood the decision to be saying when we share the document, it's only with our caucuses. It means there was an omission of a political party which was not ATC, the media. So whoever is responding or reporting to the media had to conduct his or her caucus, which is the media. So if that person then feels that the media has to be recognized at the same level as our caucuses, let's share that here in this meeting without overruling the approach you have shared, but also acknowledging those who report to their caucus called media. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honourable Kubis.
Thank you, Chairperson. I was also to share my concurrence with the sentiment you echoed from the beginning that we are here to ensure that we correct things within the SABC. And we made it a point from the beginning that this was a transparent kind of an inquisitorial investigation. So, and of course, the document had to be given to our caucuses, but there are timelines and timeframes set for us to deal with the document. We have not exhausted everything, and this is a working document. And the media was approaching us, but we never spoke because we respected the timelines and guidelines set by this committee. Therefore, it must be understood in that context that there will come a time when it will be presented official. But in the meantime, it's still a working document. But the public has derived some interest in the working of this committee. And of course, I believe that it will shape how Parliament works at the end of the day to do its oversight role.
Thank you very much, Honourable Kubisa. Chao Kiuval.
No, thank you very much, Chair. I think from the foundation of the hearing, Chair, we have been very clear that the process is going to be an open process, transparent process. And therefore, I want to build into what you have just said, that there's nothing called a leak in this process. Mr. Waters? There's nothing called a leak in the process. The document has gone public. We acknowledge that it has gone public. It has generated more interest, in fact, to members of the public, who some of them, in fact, are commenting. Some of them have been writing to us, wanting to make further inputs, just ordinary people. But I think let's stick to the principle, Chairs, we have agreed. There's nothing wrong. We will then deal formally with what is before us, and then at the end, we'll have a final document, Chair. And I think we have just clarified that part, and we are happy that for the first time, even the media itself, I think they appreciate the fact that for the first time they've interacted in a transparent process that normally does not happen. And I think without really condemning them, but let's agree that we have to sort of respect those lines between them and us. But it's important, again, for them to carry the message outside to the people, but in a correct way. Not in if that document would have gone out, simple to say that here is a document from Parliament, these are the issues, is bad. But the issue of the leak, obvious, is what we don't agree with, and I think we have made it very clear. That document, we don't have a problem with it to have been gone outside. And then I think we'll continue with doing our work, transparent, in fact, until the last. We're going to do that. And thank you very much, Chair.
Any other comments from anybody, or should I close it? Thank you very much. I think there's general consensus that nothing had been embargoed. Thank you very much, honorable members, for that. Honorable members, you would recall that on Thursday last week, we sat as a committee to plan the way forward, and part of that was to talk to the possibility or otherwise of extending invitations to additional members, and the committee came to a unanimous decision, I thought, on Thursday. However, there was a request from the floor on Friday that we grant another opportunity for presentation, specifically from Mr. Nkwankwa, and I thought we had agreed that we will afford him at the next opportunity that we get together. Well, this is the next opportunity, and true to our word, we will then afford Honorable Kwankwa to restate his case or put to us the proposal. We will then ask members to comment on it, and then we will move on. We have to reach a decision on this matter and move on. We can't sit here and debate forever. But let us afford Honorable Kwankwa an opportunity, Honorable Kwankwa, and then either as individuals or political parties, you will respond to it and take it from there. Honorable Kwankwa, the floor is yours, sir.
Chairperson and colleagues, thank you very much for this opportunity. Indeed, as you already alluded, the matter was discussed last week, Thursday. Even though we ended up agreeing on it as a compromise, I think we also expressed that we would have liked to have Mr. Motsoeneng appear before the committee, but we respected democracy. So thank you very much for this opportunity, Chairperson. It shows that indeed our democracy is alive when we respect the multiplicity and the plurality of views and opinions. Chairperson, as the United Democratic Movement, we made this request for Mr. Motsoeneng to be afforded an opportunity to state his side on the story, on the basis of the principles of natural justice. As we are aware, Chairperson and my colleagues, that the first pillar of the rules of natural justice is the hearing rule, according to which people whose rights, interests, and expectations may be affected by a decision should be given sufficient notice and adequate chance to be heard before a decision is made. That's the first point. The second point, Chairperson, would be the second pillar, is the bias rule, according to which a decision maker must approach a matter with an open mind that is free of prejudgment or prejudice. You'll agree with me, Chair, and my colleagues, that in almost all the testimonies we've received in this committee, Mr. Hlaudi Motsoeneng has been implicated in some or other form. In fact, I know that it's a draft document. Even if you read paragraph 3.1.1 of the draft report, it says, and I quote, testimony suggested that Mr. Hlaudi Motsoeneng was at the center of the divisions with all the boards between 2009 and 2016, which means he's also implicated on governance issues at SABC. You will also recall, Chairperson and our colleagues, that almost all the witnesses implicated him either in the purging of senior executives at SABC, the creation of an environment of fear, victimization, and intimidation, and so on. The list is endless. Given the above, which does not even come close to a summary of the allegations made against him during this inquiry, we are finding it difficult to understand why we would deny him an opportunity to either contradict or correct these claims against him. As Parliament Chairperson, we have a duty to ensure fair play in action, but we cannot do that or even help Parliament to adjudicate fairly on this matter when we hear evidence from one side without granting the other affected party the opportunity to do the same. To underscore this point, Chairperson, paragraph 2.4.11 of the draft report, for example, I'm citing it to say that it summarizes the testimony, says, and I quote, that in the course of the hearings, allegations were made against former board chairpersons Dr. Ben Ngubane and Ms. Ellen Chabalala. Both were therefore invited to give evidence relating to their tenures. Needless to say that this demonstrates clearly that the precedent was set by this committee where and when Dr. Ngubane and Ms. Chabalala were implicated in the witness testimony, they were quite correctly given an opportunity to state their side of the story. In light of this, Chairperson, as the United Democratic Movement, we are asking, what then would cause us not to call Mr. Motsoeneng to appear before this committee to state his side of the story? I've been reliably informed, for example, Chairperson, that more than half of the executive appointments that were done by Mr. Hlaudi Motsoeneng at SABC were done irregularly. We have also been reliably informed that, for instance, that even though he's no longer part of the SABC, he continues to run the SABC from the grave. This is just a few of some of the allegations that are made against Mr. Hlaudi Motsoeneng out there. Even, for instance, some of the allegations go to the extent of saying even the executive, the HR executive, I think he was an HR executive that called us a kangaroo court, was he himself appointed irregularly. The other very important point, Chairperson, is that the labor laws that allow that only say a person can only act in a capacity for about 6 months are abused and were abused in the appointment of executives, for instance, where people would be appointed without following due process because you don't need to advertise. But they would be kept in those positions for 6 months to eliminate competition, and after 6 months they'd be appointed permanently. Those are some of the issues that we're saying. Mr. Hlaudi Motsoeneng is not just an ordinary witness. Everything that has been discussed here centered around him. Chairperson, we are saying, we are making this appeal to this committee. We say, as the United Democratic Movement, if we fail to call Mr. Hlaudi Motsoeneng to appear before this committee to tell his side of the story, this committee will have to live with the double stigma of bias and illegitimacy, which might end up and would most probably end up undermining the excellent work that we've done so far. It is on that basis that we're asking that this committee reconsiders its decision. I thank you very much for this opportunity, sir. Thank you.
All right, honorable members, there's the submissions. Let us take comment, and I'll try and summarize the final sentiment towards the end. But again, once again, honorable members, we can't have this thing forever. So I'm going to be as businesslike as possible. Members will make their comments, we'll take a decision, and we'll live by that decision. Can I have an indication of speakers? Song, everybody wants to speak? Yeah? Or, all right, if everybody wants to, Kwanko, you'll be the last because you'll respond to whatever. Let's start on that side. Mahlangu, then we'll come to Swartz that way. Right? We'll go that way, then we'll come down this way, and we'll end up there, ma'am. You want to end there? Okay. Let's start with you, Honorable. And no, we're going to end up with Kwankwa, having heard everything else, and then I'll summarize after that. I'll give you a right of reply after everybody has spoken. Honorable Mahlangu.
Chair, no, I think we had dealt with the matter in our preparatory meeting, and Mr. Nkwankwa had assumed that he was in that meeting, and we had agreed that personally I had certain individuals that I wanted us to invite, finance and then HR. But the decision of our planning session, in line with the plan that we have and the deadlines that we had set for ourselves, there was a view that we should proceed with the work, and I think we embraced that view. And I think it is unfair that Mr. Nkwankwa went out of the meeting to deal with this matter, even in this fora, including what we can now hear in the media. It's unfortunate. I would like to raise a few things. Remember, when we started with the process, and unfortunately Mr. Nkwankwa wasn't there, the meeting was open for everybody, including the ESCOM members of the SABC. For every hearing, starting with the first hearing that we had in this meeting, you as chair would ask, is there anyone from the SABC who would like to ask the presenter a question? And the answers were no. SABC officials did come here in a big group. They were given an opportunity. They elected not to participate in the process. And Mr. Mtswening was part of that delegation. So at no point did the meeting exclude Mr. Mtswening and any other member of the board to participate. So I think the sentiments that Mr. Nkwankwa presents are actually inaccurate and unfortunate. But subsequent to that, whilst we're expecting that, that we will be submitting the report to the SABC to respond, the court took a particular decision, which rendered Mr. Mtswening, removed Mr. Mtswening from SABC. So Mr. Mtswening, in essence, is a man on the street for now, and therefore, this hearing would not, in a way, I can't see why we should be bringing him, but more than anything else, we must also remember that this hearing was about the SABC board and not about individuals. So I think that's the essence of what we have been dealing with, but I know that I have few other matters, but the last thing I would like to say, Mr. Nkwankwa, colleague Nkwankwa, remember, this thing that he's raising is a very important thing perhaps, but he should have raised it in the fora that represents him in this meeting. For instance, if I were to say, let's vote, he can't vote in this meeting. Indeed, he has a right to speak, but he can't vote because he does not represent UDM. UDM is represented here by certain two members of the committee. I think that we must understand that. I think this is opportunistic and it must not be allowed. That would be my view.
Thank you, Chair. Very briefly, we did have a unanimous decision on this issue, and we've got very strict time limits. And I think with hindsight, maybe he should have been called, but we did take a decision. We understand, from my side, there are a lot of questions I might have liked to have asked him. But I think the issue of fairness to Mr. Mtswening, he will be afforded the opportunity to respond, should he wish, to any report which we bring out. So I think the issue, that covers the issue of biasness and illegitimacy. There have been many people that have further have wanted to come, but we had a cut-off date. We only extended evidence for Mr. Ngubani, Professor Ngubani and Ms. Shabalala because they were supposed to give evidence in December. So yes, maybe Mr. Mtswening should have been called, but I adhere to the unanimous decision that was taken by this committee. And I believe, look, even Minister Yunus Karim indicated there were allegations made against him, and he responded in writing to meet those. So anyone is open to respond, and that does bring in the element of fairness and audi altrum partem, hearing the other side. So I think we should stick with our decision in view of the fact that we've got very strict timelines, and we had already taken a decision that that would be the witnesses that will be called in December already. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. I recall that at our first meeting, I think we're in M314, if I'm not mistaken, where we were asked as members to suggest names who could be called to come and testify to this committee. I recall that names were touted, and it didn't end there. Names like James Aguna, Jimmy Matthews, and others, Vianney Green, were all touted. And we later on had a preparatory meeting, and we agreed as a committee that those who wanted to submit written statements could do so. But I don't think, therefore, having agreed as a committee, in the spirit we've been working, I don't think anyone is closed outside. I believe that Laudi could still submit written submissions. And of course, I think we need to go on as a committee, follow our program, and follow the due dates that we've given ourselves. And anyone, like the Yunus Karim submitted, Nombilo, Dlamini submitted, and others are still going to submit. And in that order, therefore, Chairperson, I think we need to move on.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with my colleagues. We have taken a decision as this committee, and Honorable Nkwangwa is actually represented by Honorable Singh and Honorable Kubisa from the smaller parties. And he has made his views known. We know where he stands. However, that does not take away the fact that as a committee we resolve that we shall not invite Mr. Motsoneng, because we had already afforded him an opportunity as part of the collective as the SABC, of which he never took an advantage of that opportunity. And again, I just want to appeal to members to refrain from elevating Mr. Hlaudi Motsoneng. We are turning him into some kind of demagogue, and I don't think that is a correct way of doing things. I'm aware, Chairperson, that there is a high propensity of grandstanding in a politically charged environment. And I do think that Honorable Nkwangwa has to accept that this is the decision of the collective. And as all members, we've applied our minds. And as Honorable Kopisa has said, there are way too many people that we ought to have brought before us. And given the fact, what makes matters worse with the case of Motsoneng is that you've actually had even courts pronouncing on him. Now, on which basis do we invite him? The courts have pronounced, and what we are left with now is to restore the integrity of the SABC as an institution. And I will end there, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. No, the mandate of the inquiry was to investigate the fitness of the board to run the affairs of the SABC. And the reason why Mr. Ngubane and Ms. Chabalala were called is because they were running the board, legitimately so. And that is the reason why they were called. The mandate of this inquiry is not to clear people's names. We're not here just because your name was dragged through the mud, then you must come and clear your name. That is not how the inquiry works. Our mandate was very clear. The reason why Mr. Motsoneng was mentioned in the inquiry is because as members, we needed to ask the board how they allowed for him to be appointed and run affairs as he did. Why he did it, it's something that we can't deal with. The courts have pronounced that he was not supposed to be there in the first place. We're not here to clear his name. That is the first thing. I think also, you know, if we were to clear people's names, we should then call the Guptas, we must call Brian Molefe, we must call Jimmy Matthews, we must call multi-choice, we must call everybody in the name of fairness. Then we must extend this thing by another 15 years and see if we can't, clear everyone's name. Hlaudi Motsoeneng is not an issue in this thing. And let me just remind the UDM that we've been here before, where the courts have pronounced on a person's fitness to hold office, and then we give him a backroom opportunity to come and justify themselves here in Parliament. We can't do that. I don't expect that attitude from the UDM. We can't go back on that, and it's a very important issue because then it has implications on our constitutional integrity. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, briefly, because a lot of colleagues have said what I wanted to say, but we are working towards a deadline. We have a deadline in which we have to report back to Parliament. And so we cannot just keep inviting witnesses after witnesses. We have to draw the line in the sand sometime. And, anybody, it's been mentioned, anybody can submit written evidence if they so wish. Even people who have been here before, on hearing what other people have said about them, have submitted written evidence to us. And in fact, there's one here contesting what Dr. Ngubane said here last Friday. So if a person was motivated enough to watch the proceedings and to rectify what was said against them, they had more than ample time to submit written testimony to us so we could read it. So if this individual didn't do it, well, then that's his fault, quite frankly. I do not think that by not inviting him that we are being biased at all, because we could have invited as many as other members have said. We could have invited 100 other people before this committee. But in our initial meeting up in 314, we decided, and it was a robust debate. We wanted certain people, other people wanted, and we reached a compromise, and we decided who we were going to invite, and we did just that. So I would say that we proceed with the report today. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. It's a note to Hlaudi from me. Number one, the SABC's management, of which Hlaudi was part of, was invited here. They came here with a big delegation, show of force, came in, walked out, insulting this forum, held a press conference, called us a kangaroo court. Despite all of that, we still invited them back to come and cross-examine all the witnesses. After every witness, Chair, you asked, is there anyone from the SABC here? That was the opportunity for Hlaudi to cross-examine witnesses. He chose not to take that opportunity. So he can't now come at the 11th hour and say now he wants to come. It doesn't work like that. Number two, Hlaudi's role at the SABC has been ventilated thoroughly. First by the Public Protector, in the Western Cape High Court, North Gauteng High Court, Supreme Court of Appeals, Constitutional Court, his role at the SABC has been clarified to death. Number three, I too have also been subjected to public pressure. People have said, Hlaudi must come, that guy is funny. But we're not here for that. We're not here to entertain and have someone come and, say things that are cute sound bites. We're here to work and we're here to fix the SABC. If Mr. Motsoeneng would like to give further comment, he can do so in writing. If he's unhappy with the report, he can take it on review, but we've got work to do here, and that's fixing the SABC and not giving platforms to people who rejected those platforms and now want to come and delay our work.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, first of all, I want to say to Honorable Kwangwa, the platform in which he raised this matter was an incorrect one. The decision of who should come and who should not come was taken in a committee meeting, and all out of the blue, in an inquiry, he decided to raise this matter. It explains that he just joined us later on as we were already on the run with the matter. The second one is he continues to quote the draft we have not reflected on as backup evidence to his request, whereas he raised this matter long before the draft was issued. To me, it seems as if he just wanted the voice of the UDM to be heard, because as we were working as a committee, we never stood up to grandstand as committee members. We were working as a committee. We want to appeal to UDM, there should not be wedge drivers in this particular committee, because we are trying to ensure that SABC is working like all the other entities. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I think it's a bit unfortunate that sometimes we play the man and not the ball. So I want to play the ball. And firstly, as the Chief Whip of the IFP and one who's been given the responsibility to coordinate what is called the smaller or the other parties, let me speak of the participation of Honorable Kwankwa in this committee. The resolution of the National Assembly constituted this ad hoc committee, and as part of a resolution with the constitution of all ad hoc committees, the other parties are entitled to place 2 members full-time on the committee. Members of other parties meet, the chief whips, and when we meet, we decide who those 2 members should be, on the understanding that they will report back to all the parties, which I had a meeting yesterday in that regard. The 2 members that were decided on full-time was Honorable Kubisa from the NFP, which is the second largest of the smallest party, and myself as the largest of the small parties. And Honorable Swart and Kwankwa were designated as alternates. Alternates meaning that when either of us are not present, then they will ensure that they participate in the affairs of the committee. If we are present, we will have the vote as full-time members. But I think you know as well as I do, Chairperson, that no member of parliament is prevented from participating in the affairs of any committee, whenever, save that they may not vote because they're not entitled to vote. So I just thought I'll just bring that in because it also affects me. But having said that, Chair, you see, this is not a disciplinary inquiry. We are not here to discipline Mr. Hlaudi Motsoeneng. We are here to look at how we can make suggestions about the sustainability of the board moving forward. And I think to a large extent, we are working in that direction. Now, if one has to take a leaf from the findings of the public protector, which are binding in terms of the Constitution, and courts have said so, because it hasn't been taken on review, I'll just read a few of the findings where it relates to Mr. Motsoeneng. 1, the appointment of Mr. Motsoeneng as the acting COO was irregular. That's the finding. What's the remedial action by the public protector? The board to initiate appropriate disciplinary action. The board on Mr. Motsoeneng. 2, they're finding Mr. Motsoeneng committed fraud by stating in his application form that he had matric. What's the remedial action? The minister to take urgent steps. Then there's a finding on Mr. Sally Motsweni, and the action is the board must recover. We are not even thinking about inviting Mr. Sally Motsweni here. Mr. Motsoeneng again has been referred to in his finding. Mr. Motsoeneng purged senior staff members, leading to the loss of millions of rand on unnecessary settlements for irregular terminations of contracts of employment. What's the action? The board to issue a public apology to the chairperson. And the last one, Mr. Motsoeneng irregularly increased salaries of various staff members, leading to salary bill increase of 29 million rand. This amounted to financial mismanagement and improper conduct and maladministration. What's a remedial action? The board to ensure that human resources process on the creation of new posts, appointment and salary scales and progressions are reviewed. Everywhere here, the Office of the Public Protector has suggested or found that the board needs to take action. And I think up to now, we've given former board members an opportunity to come here and tell us whether they think the board did what they ought to do at any given moment in time, taking into consideration the PP's findings and the findings of the AG. This is not a personal vendetta against Mr. Motsoeneng. Mr. Motsoeneng walked out with the rest of the delegation on the very first day when we started, and we had to engage advocates to decide whether or not we were on the right course to continue. Yesterday, Chairperson, Many documents were given to us, which I haven't even had a chance to read, right? But yet I flagged all of them. And I'm sure many more will come before we present our final report to Parliament. If Honorable Kwankwa suggests that Mr. Motsoeneng is still the ringmaster of the SABC, that will come to play soon enough, after the recommendations of this committee. I believe that Mr. Motsoeneng should be afforded an opportunity, like everybody else, to place in writing any submission that he wants to make to us. But to invite him now for oral presentations would just open a can of worms where hundreds of others may want to come in. And like other members said, why should we treat him with specially? Is it because his name has been mentioned? The mention of his name is because he has flouted, quote unquote, so many regulations whilst he was there at the SABC. So our caucus met yesterday and we decided that we will support the committee or the view that Mr. Motsoeneng not be invited for oral submissions, but in fairness, he can write in to us as a committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Yes, Chair, we don't want to play the man. We will play the ball, but we have to say it's a little opportunistic. Even if there is in the caucus of small parties unanimity that he not be called after we have resolved and deliberated on the matter as a committee, I think that could be called very opportunistic. Chairperson, this committee will not adjudicate on Mr. Motsoeneng and his future. We will not make any decisions. The courts have declared his position. Initially, when we started the process, he was COO. Whether by a regular or irregular appointment, whatever the situation is, that was his position. Since then, he is no longer. At this stage, he is Group Executive of Corporate Affairs, and he must undergo a disciplinary process. That is where the fair process will be followed about his future. So we will not make any declarations on his future. I think as far as the rest of his appointments are concerned, we will make findings as to what went wrong as far as governance matters are concerned, as far as financial reporting systems, etc., etc. And when we report to Parliament, other bodies, be it the interim board, the new board to be appointed, and clearly also the Portfolio Committee on Communication will have to take over the baton. We will present our findings, which will possibly include allegations made, but we are not to try to help him to come clean. Other processes will be followed for that. So we will just report allegations are allegations. It's nothing more than that, and it will be reported on, but that is not our role to clear his name. Other bodies will perform duties, and he will have an opportunity, as any person living in South Africa, to approach a court if he feels he was treated unfairly. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, I'm not going to repeat what the other colleagues have just said, but I think the UDM must just learn to work within a collective. If you are to look at the parliamentary rules that allows for small parties, currently in this arrangement, the whip responsible being Mr. Singh. And yesterday a caucus was held, and in that caucus, this matter never in fact came through because it was going to come as a position from small parties. Obviously, the position that I would want to encourage will be that let us, for the first time in fact, you even evoke a party position throughout the hearing. There's never been such a position that a particular party has a particular position. We have sort of commonly agreed that we're going to deal with these matters united as we are, try and resolve, find solutions for SABC. So I want to encourage Honorable Nkwankwa again that it's not late, but what we must do is that let's work together within a collective. And that, I think, has been communicated throughout to Honorable Nkwankwa, that the position of the committee is that we are inviting the board, we're not inviting individuals in that regard. So I think let's take it in that level, in that spirit. let's work together with the UDM moving forward and find a solution to resolve the problems of SABC. Thank you very much.
All right. I'm going to allow you, Honorable Kwankwa, to respond, but can I, in attempting to move this thing forward, what is coming out from members is that anybody that is affected will have an opportunity to respond, and therefore nobody is being excluded. So from where I'm sitting, Honorable Nkwankwa, that seems to me to be a fair process. I don't want us to get to a position where it's going to be us and them or voting, but the process seems to be fair, that anybody would have an opportunity post the draft report to respond to it, because this is not even a draft report that we have here, it's a working document. And I'm hoping that that would be acceptable, Honorable Kwankwa. I'm not bullying anybody, but there seems to be some sorts of consensus that says, let's continue, let us make it clear that everybody that has an interest in responding will have an opportunity to respond, and not necessarily any particular individual, but anybody. And that seems to me to be the fairest way to do it. But let's allow you the last word, Honorable Kwankwa, and then we will take a decision.
Chairperson, let me start by saying I'm unfazed by all the personal attacks against me because they did not deal with the substantive matter. And this is a UDM position. We're not going to be apologetic about it. People can go and hang themselves, literally. We made this point clear in the meeting. We made this point clear in the meeting, but because of democracy, after engagement, we said, okay, fine. No, they can. We made this point in the meeting on Thursday last week, Chairperson. It was not the first time we made the point on Friday, right? After the compromise in the committee, the party obviously would say, no, we do not agree with that. What do you do? It's a position of the party, firstly. The second issue is that I am not here illegitimately, comrades. I'm a member of parliament. I have every right to be here. I may not have voting rights as an MP, but all MPs who are members of parliament can actually come to this committee and make contributions and make proposals. But it is you, yourselves, who can vote on those proposals, agree or disagree with those proposals. So that is the point, right? And I think would be political. Look, Chairperson, we're not politically naive. We know what some of the political dynamics that have caused the ANC to say they don't want Tlhaudi to come and appear here. No, we do. No, but I'm trying to tell you, we're not naive, but we're trying to deal with this process properly. We're trying to be gentlemanly about it. I'm giving an example, Chairperson. No, I'm very unhappy. Chairperson, I was not protected by you when people were making personal attacks against me. Continue. I was not protected by you, sir. You should have intervened then. So I have a right to respond to some of those things. We are aware of those dynamics and how some of these things at a factional position are arrived at, but I didn't want to raise that in the input, but we can deal with it politically. The second issue, Chairperson, for instance, when the public protector, remember as the opposition during the ad hoc committee on the public protector's report, when she was not given an opportunity, remember there were a number of allegations and claims that were made by that very same committee against the public protector. And we as the opposition said she needed to be given an opportunity to state a side of the story. Today, because it's Tlhaudi, the same opposition turns around and says, no, it's Tlhaudi, we can't say that. We're fighting for that during that period, right? Now we're saying, no, Kwangwa wants nice sound bites. I remember working with some of the people, for an example. Yes, no, I'm saying I remember working with my colleagues in the opposition who were fighting. And the ANC said, it kept on saying, Chairperson, that the process was not about the public protector, and guess what happened later on? All we're trying to caution was to say, we don't want this process to be perceived as being biased at the end of the day. We're also wanting to deal with issues where we might be perceived as being illegitimate or having dealt with some people unfairly. I could have come here with a political statement, I didn't. It was just an appeal to the committee. And I was saying, as the UDM appealing to the committee, remember, Chairperson, even though you have these parliamentary processes, we talk together, no problem, sir. Even though we have these parliamentary processes where we can get, ultimately as the party, we decide what we want to say in parliament. We decide what input we want to make. That's what happened. And now you want to tell us because the ANC has arrived at a particular position that the UDM must be co-opted even if it doesn't agree. We can't.
everybody's entitled, honorable members. I don't think this is about decisions, but ultimately, the decision is that out of the 13 or 15 members that are here, 14 members raised arguments that supported the decision of last week, Thursday. And as the chairperson, my ruling therefore would be that that decision is the decision that would prevail. Not meaning that whatever opposing views there were are discarded, but we have to take a decision at some point, honorable members. And I'm sure that being a Democrat, Kwankwa, and everybody else, that's the decision that has been taken by everybody or most of the members, and that's the decision that in the event that it is challenged, all of us will have to defend. We'll have to defend it. So the decision that will prevail is that we will not open up for any additional witnesses. And I'm hoping, Honorable Kwankwa, that you've been afforded an opportunity, other members have been afforded an opportunity, and that is now water off a duck's back, so to say. We will revert to working as the team that we were before, regardless of the fact that there were some differences here and there, and there's nothing wrong with differences as long as they're constructive. Is that a fair summary, and can we move on? Yes? Thank you very much. Honourable members, just very briefly, and I'm hoping that this wouldn't be too difficult. What we envisaged, and we don't want to return to where we were in terms of what brought us here, in terms of the working document, but we have a document before us that has no status. It's about 37 pages long. The first part of it, outside of the introduction, of course, that will be filled in later, but part A, we attempted to capture, and it's not exhaustive in any way, we attempted to capture what came through via verbal and also written submissions up to that point. That's what it is. So really, part A should reflect what transpired to a very large extent. And I don't anticipate too many contestations, but of course, like we said, every point in this document is subject to review. We might have had blind spots as we were preparing it, so you could add to it, or if you think it's not necessary, you could subtract from it. That's point A. Up to point A, I'm looking at the pages, Cindy. What is up to the end of, where does point A end? Page? Yeah, A and B. A and B is really just, well, let me put it differently. I'm not going to ask about point A, but the first part of it really was trying to summarize. So then and we can do accuracy tests and accurate corrections and strengthening and so on. Then it is from page 26 onwards that we should really be having the discussions, because that will be where members, from the observations and recommendations, that is where, of course, it will be open to all sorts of inputs. No, hold on. Let me finish saying what I'm saying. So I'm saying in terms of working, if we could then work through part A, make additions, subtractions, deletions, whatever we want to do on part A, because that will inform part B and part C. Or when I say part B and C, it'll inform observations and recommendations, if that's okay with members, because that would be the basis of observations and recommendations. That's how we envisage that we would do it, and receive inputs from everybody today. Of course, there will be as many inputs as members there are here. If we can resolve them as we go through them, fine. If not, we will try with Cindy and everybody else, note what various members have said, and try and give you some sort of a transcript of what members have said there where we disagree fundamentally, and we'll have another bite at it tomorrow. So I'm saying we do it that way. So somebody will say on this recommendation, I think X must be done. Everybody else will put all those recommendations. If we can't conclude it here, we'll do it tomorrow. So what I'm saying is that there will be no finality on any point today. It'll be the first bite, it'll be a sense of what people are saying. We'll hear what everybody else is saying, come back tomorrow and revisit those where there are distinctions and try and tighten it up tomorrow. That was the proposal, or that's how I envisaged it. If members have a different way of us working it, let's hear those ways and let's reach consensus. Just in terms of the process, we'll get to the content once we've agreed the process so that we have some sort of a method of working. Anybody wants or does anybody have a different approach to the process? Honourable Waters?
Yeah, I don't know if it's that different, but the fact is we may be able to finalise the report today. I don't think we should say we'll come back tomorrow if we can finish it today. I would like us to go through clause by clause. So, so you say clause 2.1 and everyone says yes or whatever the case may be. There are quite a lot of spelling and grammar mistakes in this report. I mean, a lot. Okay, so it's not our job do you want us as we go along to rectify the grammar and the spelling, or will that be done?
No, we will, where we've picked them up, we will tell you that we've already picked them up, but you are free to say the grammar on line number 1 needs to be changed. You'll just highlight it and we will try and use the best skills that we have to change it. But yes, that's exactly what I was saying. We'll go clause by clause, and at the end of the day, if we're done by the end of the day today, well, you've got a bonus tomorrow. If not, we'll have another bite tomorrow, but at the end of the process, we will then have to come back when the document is cleaned up for formal adoption, which will be Tuesday. So, but it'll take into consideration if other members have other things, but that's the approach. We'll go clause by clause, add to, subtract from, do grammar. Cindy and team will try and capture what members are saying. We will present a document so that by the time you get here on Tuesday, you would have at least sight of the document, and all you'll be saying, it's an accurate reflection of what we've done, or it's not an accurate reflection. Take a formal decision in terms of adoption and move forward. That is the approach that seems to be supported by the DA, not the DA, no parties here, by at least Mr. Waters and others. Is there a different view? Singh.
Thank you, Chairperson. Largely supported. Two things. You mentioned Tuesday now, and we had a particular challenge with Honourable Van Dam for Tuesday, so we just need to clarify that. Secondly, I'd like to know, how are we going to deal with all these submissions, and at what stage do we start dealing with all this? Because honestly, I can tell you, I haven't read. I might have read 2 pages because it was coming through in a flurry last night from Cindy. Emails after emails after emails. And there may be more submissions coming through. So at what stage are we going to allow ourselves time to deal with the submissions, and how do we deal with them? Thank you.
Pragmatically speaking, Mr. Singh, remember we spoke about Tuesday. Now, whether it's Tuesday morning or Tuesday afternoon to cater for people, it gives us those 3 days. Secondly, remember this report, even if we adopted Honourable Waters, is still subject to change pending the input from other people. So, realistically speaking, we would have until at least the 14th to have considered everything else. I agree with you. There are documents there that you'd need to consider. So it won't be closed at the end of today anyway, but at least we would have reached a level of comfort that we are there. So I'm hoping that that will address your point, that we would be able to do that type of thing. Yeah, no, we've said that we would have until the 24th, as of now. We then have on the 14th another opportunity to do what we're doing today, considering the other input, because the final adoption, if all things go well, will be the 15th. So, and if at the time of adoption people feel that there's still something we need to do, we'll have to be flexible to that. But hopefully we would have reached that point of the 14th, would have looked at everything, considered everything. But your point is taken, and people at any point can say, but we need more time to read the submissions. Remember, we've made a deadline that the last submission must reach this committee by the 9th. That's the last submission for anybody, by the 9th. And then we'll have that weekend to go through it and factor them in if we think we want to factor them in. But I think let's cross that bridge when we get there. I'm sure we'll reach our deadline. You want to say something, Mr. Mahlangu and Ms. Loliwe? I'm going to allow you, unless, when you are done, the two of you, I'm not going to open it up for anything else unless somebody's got a different view. And I'm saying it's going to be touch and go as we go. Mr. Mahlangu.
Chair, just two things. I don't think we should deal with grammar and whatever you had. I think those things one would naturally expect, that indeed the work was fast and the administration will deal with it. I don't think we need to deal with it. We can deal with it, say, on the 14th, but for now, I think we should look at the substantive matters that we need to do. For me, I'll try and make my inputs, but, I think in reverse. So I'll struggle a little bit going forward, but anyway, I'll try my best. I think in reverse, so I have the end in mind, and therefore I can build my input. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, I just wanted to say, can't we as a committee concretely agree that on the 24th we meet in the afternoon so as to accommodate those that are going to a committee?
We are your servants, and we've heard. So we will make sure that the meeting of the 24th will be in the afternoon, even if it's after hours. If there's something, it'll be after 2. Okay. Ms. Van Dam indicates that she would be otherwise occupied until 1, so we'll make a meeting post 2 o'clock. That is concrete. It's not going to be reversed. We will make that, and the necessary arrangements will be made by Cindy and her team. All right, honorable members, so we have agreed. We will go chapter by chapter, clause by clause, tick it off, or highlight areas where there might be slight differences, and if we can't reach agreement, we do it again tomorrow, and by the end of the day tomorrow, have a sense of how far we are in terms of arriving at a draft report. Let us reiterate, this document has no status as it stands, and therefore every word, every dot is subject to change. There are no holy cows as it stands now. So that's going to be the way we're doing it. It is 11:10. I'm going to give every member until 11:15 to stretch your legs, and let's get down with the business. 11:15, we start the business. Oh, is there tea? No, there's no tea, unfortunately. 11:15, we start with the business, having understood the process. Thank you very much.
Animation, virtual reality, and games. We have all of that and other technology and social media news.
I've got the full version of the game at home, so I play it a lot at home.
We also tell you how Africans are using tech to improve their lives.
We have to close the digital gap.
So join us on Network for your African technology and social media news. That's Network with Ms. Phumelele Zondi every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Central African Time.
Young girls crossing our borders often find themselves alone in the big city of Johannesburg.
I came here when my pregnancy was 6 months.
Like many other girls from Zimbabwe, Abigail found her way here to the Central Methodist Church.
My friend who was raped, who was forced to have sex at the church.
I insisted that this needed to be handled with the police.
I think we don't have rights. You do what you don't want to do, and you'll be forced.
Any refugee in a strange country is vulnerable to forms of abuse and manipulation.
I don't have any option. I can just continue to put the guys so that I can take care of my baby.
Campaign that is as a result of a Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation grant to Good Business in Saatchi, South Africa. We've developed this campaign specifically to encourage the prevention of the bacterium. And this is aimed at people around anybody who coughs, for them to tell the person who coughs, hey Bowena, use your elbow. Motivation was really coming from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, who are involved in a number of projects in South Africa. And one of the biggest challenges, as previously been said, is TB in South Africa. And the motivation is to affect behavior change, particularly with people who cough and who may be carrying the bacterium. So encouraging people to use the elbow clearly would reduce the spread of that airborne bacterium. Because the bacteria can live for 24 hours plus, you know, when you cough on your hands, you invariably touch hard surfaces or other people's hands and thereby spreading the bacteria. When you use your elbow, though, it significantly reduces that risk because most of the bacterium that you coughed out stays on your elbow or on your sleeve. It's such a light-hearted, easy way to get people to change their behavior, and therefore we believe it would be successful.
When you have a cough, or if you have chest pains, think about your friends, think about your friends. When you feel a fever, or if you sweat at night, look out for the signs, look out for the signs. I go when I hate, use your elbow when you cough. I go when I hate, use your elbow when you cough. Hey, hey, Nina, hey, use your elbow when you cough. Hey, hey, Nina, hey, use your elbow when you cough.
Lesotho Queen Masinate led Remembrance Sunday celebrations in the capital of Lesotho, Maseru.
This is the Makwanyane Square. It is a monument established to pay tribute to Basotho soldiers who fought and died in the 2 world wars.
Lesotho played a key role supporting British forces during the war.
Use of intravenous drugs such as heroin are on the rise on the Cape Flats. That's according to employees of a local drug treatment facility, the Sultan Bahu Center.
The facility treats 132 people on a daily basis through its community-based program.
I don't say the area is bad, it's how the drugs is so bad.
So we are saying to them, if you have that issue, come to us, contact us.
Africans are coming up with innovative tech solutions to solve their challenges.
We developed mobile apps that gamify the learning.
On Network, we have information about Africa's technology and social media landscape.
First rate, I think there was less than maybe 2,000 visitors. And now this year we're expecting around 35,000 visitors.
We also tell you about apps celebrities are using.
My favorite piece of technology right now, I would say it's M-Pesa.
That's Network with Ms. Pumela Zondi every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Central African Time.
With the green table at the end. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page so people don't say I've got the wrong document. Page 11 should be the green table at the end, correct, everybody? Oh, it's just black and white. Oh. 11. No. You see, this is not your document. It's not. This is page 11. All right, no, it's fine. I won't use the colored one. That was... I'll use, okay, let's take any page. Page 11 ends with 624. Okay. Page 17, 822. Page 17, 8.2.2. All right. Everybody's then going to talk to the same document. I will discard my privileged document. You want this one, although this one's got my minutes. All right, honorable members. I'm not sure. The introduction, we are happy that that introduction will be concluded when we get there. So we're not going to go to part 1 on page number 1. On page number 1, oh, you want to start with the heading, all right? Anybody wants to make any comments on the heading?
That's just a little, it's just a spelling matter.
I should say that. Honourable members, can we agree that all matters grammatical, that we just overlook them now? We will try with Cindy to fix them up. But if on the 24th, there are still grammatical areas, then you can point them out. Otherwise, we'll just spend the day doing grammatical stuff. So please don't make corrections on grammar. We will try and identify them and pick them up. And we'll only address grammatical areas or grammatical errors on the 24th after 2 o'clock. Page number 1. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Chair, sorry, also on page 1. I'm just wondering whether those first 2 lines is what we're supposed to do. The ad hoc committee on the SABC board inquiry, having inquired into the fitness of the SABC board reports as follows. Is that the right way we've put it? Or should we take more from the terms of reference, or is it what we were supposed to do? I'm just asking questions now.
No. The way we operate in this committee, let me just make that clear. Nobody's going to ask questions because nobody has answers. You're going to suggest a proposal and people will then accept or reject your proposal. The proposal Mr. Singh is making is that we take off that very first line, and if we want to say something, let's at least insert the terms of reference as they were on the ATC. Yeah. Mr. Kobis.
Yes, Chairperson, I would suggest the same, that we insert the terms of reference as they were on the ATC, because that's where we begin. That's our mandate. Thank you, Chair.
Chairperson, thank you. Can I make just a slight adjustment to that? If we can say into the fitness of the SABC board, as per the resolution of the National Assembly dated so and so, because we go into the detail in paragraph 2.1.2. Now, if we just refer there in terms of the NA resolution of the 3rd of November and reports as follows, then we don't need to have too many words in the introductory paragraph.
Okay. It seems to be that we are saying the ad hoc committee on the SABC board inquiry having inquired into the fitness of the SABC board as per the NA resolution on whatever date, report as follows. Comfort to that? Good. Thank you. All right. Any suggestions on, can we say page 1 or do we say 2.1.1? What were you suggesting, Mr. Watson? All right, 2.1.1. Assuming members have read this document, yeah? No, I didn't want to use the mic. I wanted you to use the mic. 2.1.1 we tick. 2.1.2. Right? All right, now let me also look at mine. All right. Eh?
We'll take it, this is direct from the National Assembly's terms, yeah.
So we tick 2.1.2. 2.1.2 at the very top of page 2, that's included in the ticking, eh? Thank you. 2.1.3? Agreed? Yeah, my daughter. 2.2.1. Agreed? Yeah. 2.2.2. Yes, let's take Khoza and then we'll take...
Chair, it's not English, and that is why I'm correcting it. Honorable Kubisa is spelled wrongly there. If they can correctly spell it, because they may just forget about it. It's not English. It's not.
Yes, Chairperson, I think also it's not English. It is a matter referring to the asterisks. I was just wondering if we shouldn't just have a little asterisk and say alternate members.
Chairperson, it's something that I always highlight in these reports. It's 2.2.1. Sorry, I raised my hand back then. Yeah, and it says from other parties, two members. Can we mention the members of those parties, smaller parties that represented us, please? Yes. Other parties, yeah. 2.2.2 mentions the name. No, I'm talking about political parties there. Oh, you say economic, and from other, you want us to name every other party? The two parties that represent us. The two parties, yes. No, it would be the NFP and the IFP, right?
So you want us to remove from other two parties, and we say from NFP and...
Yes.
No, hold on. Let's allow him to speak. So you're suggesting from NFP and?
The two parties that represent smaller parties here are the IFP, right, and the NFP, rather than just say from other parties, two members.
From IFP and NFP. That is the proposal that's on the table. Waters, just on this point. Oh, no, let's take the legal one first, and then we'll come to the others. What is the legal saying?
Sorry, it's just a short one. We're looking at the resolution of the NA, and this is just to repeat, because the heading of 2.2.2 says the following members were selected to serve on the committee, and that's in terms of this resolution. So, membership, sorry. Membership is pursuant to this resolution. So we just copy, yeah. Sorry.
Legally saying it's a direct reflection of what was in the National Assembly. 2.2.2, except for the spelling error. 2.31.
Chair, I hope you've taken note of Honourable Killian under 2.2, the asterisk. You must say alternates.
No, we've taken that one. 2.3.1. 2.3.2. Honourable Swartz and then Honourable Khoza and then Honourable Van Dam, in that order.
I think we need to just have a brief sentence to explain what we mean by the inquisitorial. So, softly or slower. Okay, I'm not suggesting wording, but I'm just saying one sentence to explain the inquisitorial approach as opposed to the adversarial approach. This is not a court of law that is sitting where you'd, and that's why the committee adopted an inquisitorial approach. Maybe we can just have a sentence from our legal advisors just to say an inquisitorial, it says with evidence being gathered, but it's not an adversarial approach, and I think that's key.
Chair, I was just wondering if I'm proposing that we do include a clause under the process that highlights the fact that this was an open process consistent with the parliamentary policy. The reason for that being that nobody is going to come out later on and say, there were certain things that were decided on somewhere behind the scenes. Everything was open. Because this is going to be a historical record as well. Thank you, Chair.
All right, just so that we all move on the same page, we will add a sentence that tries to explain what inquisitorial means, and then we will add a sentence that says it was open and transparent and so on. Swartz and then Mahlangu.
Well, the same SU on the same page, SNS. Chairperson, I just thought as a way of process, the drafters must number this draft 1 or whatever, and as we move forward, highlight the amendments that were made so we can catch up on the amendments and the deletions, like in a normal bill. Thanks.
Chair, just for my understanding, on 2.3.1, at the end we say the committee adopted the process the inquiry would follow. Now, from there it refers to the two aspects, which is the inquisitorial as well as the appointment of the person to conduct the interviews. Are we then saying these are the processes that we are referring to, or is there something that is missing? I'm just trying to, but I know that what Dr. Koza is saying is actually part of what would have been part of the agreed upon processes. The transparency aspects, the open and so on and so on and so on. But I'm not sure whether there's something that's missing from that end of what do you call.
I'm going to have patience and say it 3 or 4 times, but this is your second bite. Don't ask questions, make a proposal, because really we don't have any answers. Quite honestly, we don't have answers. Put a proposal and members would have it. Because once one of us answers it, then it's owned by whoever answers it. It must be a collective decision. So make your proposal, sir, and other members will agree whether they think it should be included or removed.
I'm not raising the question to you. I'm saying, let us look at this. Have we covered the processes? Because that's what I'm asking. I'm not asking it to the chair. I'm saying there is something that's missing. That's why I'm saying, and I'm referring to what Dr. Koza is saying, but we may have other things that have not been included here. And I think it's an important area where we need to I mean, give value to give meat to our document.
Just so that I understand where we are, we're talking 2.3.2. Point 1. 2.3.1.
You see, after the election of the chairperson, we adopted a process. Now, the only aspects that we have raised, which form part of the process, is the approach that we are embarking upon, which is an inquisitorial one. And secondly, we're speaking about the advisor who is going to be the Solicitor General. And there's issues that the colleague has raised here of transparent process and so on and so on. And I'm saying to myself, this statement that is on 2.3.1 at the end, the drafters perhaps also wanted to include something, and perhaps we may have forgotten to include those things. I'm saying, can we remind each other about it? I think that's what I was saying, so I can see colleagues would like to help us out of that situation.
This time it's SWAT, Chair. Chair, maybe this is an issue we need to flag, and we need to just think if there are any other issues which we need to raise as a matter of process that needs to be added. That's purely, I can't think of anything at the moment, but to help you to go forward, so that overnight there might be other issues of process that need to be included.
No, thank you, Chair. Partly covered by Honorable Swart, but I wanted to say we do need to guard against conflating the process with too many issues. I think the more specific we become, the more we get focused on what we want to say, rather than bringing in a number of issues.
Chair, can we perhaps just ask legal to formulate along the lines of Honourable Koza's suggestion that we conducted the process in terms of parliamentary rules and constitutional principles, you know, capped as per a specific section, because that would then include the reference to calling witnesses, swearing them in during the process. It is just to strengthen the role that we have fulfilled in terms of the rules and the Constitution to come to the bottom of the inquiry. I think that is possibly what Honourable Koza is also referring to. It's not only the open process, but it is also in terms of the rules and as per the Constitution.
One of the things, very important matter that we've left out is we identified the people that were going to be invited to the process. And I know that 2.4 already speaks about people that were invited. There is a document here that we generated in that meeting, which I think is crucial, that we either bring it as an addendum, otherwise we will have a bulky document, but I think it's crucial that we bring that aspect, and we can always refer to an addendum. And I think where we identified 38 potential witnesses and so on, because I think that's where it happened, and we have certain resolutions that are attached with it. And those documents appear on the 24th November. That's the document that was served, the things that we had agreed upon on the day, I assume.
Chair, I agree with Honorable Mahlango. I think we can include another clause that probably it speaks to the methodology that was adopted by the committee. Just a one-liner that says there was a process of identifying, witnesses, and we had to discuss which witnesses are we going to go for and that kind of thing, so that at least it's clear from anybody who is reading, so that it's clear it's clear how we arrived at the conclusions that we will probably have arrived at. There must be something on methodology.
Indeed, that's a brilliant point, Chairperson. We agree with it, so that people can follow as to how we arrived at the conclusion. I agree. Thank you.
Yeah, Chair, I just thought we must distinguish between oral and written representation somewhere, because it might be a point later on. Because we invited certain people to make oral representations and anybody to make written representations. So I think we have that. And then I want to speak to 2.4.1, if we are there. Oh, okay, I'll come to 2.4.
Including in the list, Chair, it will be the civil society participation in the process, that we then include them within the list of those that we have identified.
All right, we will take note of it. We will include the process or try and further detail the process. So many people, these are the people who will do that. That's what you're asking for, is that not so? And we'll refer to that document that you keep on referring us to. If you give us that document, we'll try and capture that. And everything else in terms of the rules and so on. 2.3.2.
If we've exhausted the point around public participation, because I was going to say it's important for the report to capture the essence that over and above identifying the witnesses, there was participation of civil society, and probably we mentioned them by name, those that participated, because one of the things that we're trying to do as well is to deepen democracy and to understand that, Parliament is an open institution. Anybody, all the civil society organizations who have something to put forward, they can participate in the process.
We shall incorporate that. Do you still want to talk to, anybody wants to talk to 2.3.1? Done. Can we tick it? No. Kwankwa?
No. Chairperson, building up on the point that was made by Dr. Khoza earlier, shouldn't we not say in that first point, 2.3.1, that we adopted the approach and the process to the inquiry or something like that, so that then immediately we start with the inquisitorial approach, which is fine, and then immediately after that we outline the process. That's what I'm saying. 2.3.1, I'm saying, we say we adopted the process maybe and the approach, right? So that immediately we for an example, if you look at 2.3.2, we immediately talk about the approach. After the approach, then we can introduce the process and outline it. That's what I'm saying. All right.
So you're suggesting we add the words and process in 2.3.1, and then we...
So that it flows.
Fine. All right. We'll do our best, and you can always look at it again before we give you the final one, but that's okay. 2.3.2. 2.3.2? No. You guys must shout if you... 2.3.3. Ma'am.
Chair, I want to make the following recommendation, that we just shorten the sentence by saying the committee agreed to appoint Advocate Vanara, Parliamentary Legal Advisor, as its evidence leader, full stop. Advocate Vanara conducted a series of interviews, blah, blah, blah.
No, yeah. That's fine. Can you reduce that? You know, when you say blah, 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 we'll do that.
Sorry,
you know,
Chair.
we are parents. We'll put blah, blah, blah in the report.
I apologize. What I actually wanted to say, it's just to get the evidence leader at the beginning and to then have a full stop and then to have the next sentence with the rest being retained. To start with Advocate Vanara conducted a series of interviews with potential witnesses and in anticipation of an inquiry which would have been conducted by the Portfolio Committee on Communication, full stop.
All right. Thank you very much. With those amendments, can we move on? 2.4.1. Let's take Van Dam, and then we will take Singh, and then we will take Mahlangu.
Thanks, Chair. It's a stylistic suggestion which actually is throughout the document. When you say Minister of Communications, you must say Minister of Communications Faith Mutambi. If you mention COO, you must mention that person's name. It's throughout the document. So can they please just make it clear who we're speaking about specifically?
There's a comment. Any others?
Thank you, Chairperson. 2.4.1, the committee invited briefings from state institutions. I know 2.4.2 tells us what they came and presented on, but I think we should mention them there. Invited briefing from Public Protector, AXA, ICASA.
So you're saying under state institutions,
instead of state institutions,
we must say we invited
briefings from Public Protector, Office of the Public Protector.
You know what I should have done? I should have asked, without necessarily getting into debate, as people made proposals, because now you're not talking to the same one, you're talking to the second one, which might... Let's deal with the second one first. Everybody's happy that instead of saying other institutions, we list them. Okay. Before I come back to you, sir, can I go to the proposal made by Ms. Van Dam? We deliberately, let's put it this way, when we were drafting this report, we thought that if we said ex-board member, or we refer to the office rather than the person, it takes away the sense that people are saying, you've mentioned my name, therefore you're targeting me. That was the spirit that we were doing it. Members are saying, no, put the names. Because if we do that, there will be many other instances. This list will be full of lots of people's names. So I'm just saying we must think about that. Because it's not only the minister and the COO, it's HR manager, it's this. It means we will have to put names in all these things. And I was just wondering if that is what we want to do. But on that point only, then we'll move on. Yes, Singh. And then Ms. Khoza. I beg your pardon, Swarth. I'll never say that again. Honorable Swarth.
Thank you. Just, you see, this will be a document that will be archived, that will be referenced in the future. And so when people read back and they see CEO of what board, to me when I read it, it was unclear whether it's a former board. So I think I agree we need to put names in, Chair.
In addition to that. I'd noted Khoza. Let's go to Loliwe afterwards, and then Killian.
No, Chair, I just wanted to remind the members that you must remember that when the witnesses were giving us evidence, we wanted them to be specific about which minister they were referring to, because we got confused. There were too many ministers during more or less during a very short period. So it's very important for precision to mention so that it's not subject to any ambiguity or, distortion. Thank you.
I only am going to take opposing views to us putting names. Any opposing views?
I was kind of opposed to it because of that thing of people saying that they were targeted. But I think members make a good point. I think they make a good point. No, I think let's put in the names.
We live and die by our decisions. It's fine. We'll put in names. We've been overruled as the drafters, so where we've put posts, we'll put post and name, or otherwise we'll put name. Lulile.
Chair, I think we can do both. When we are mentioning a person for the first time, we indicate the name and in brackets to indicate that later will be referred to as a minister.
No, all right, that's fine. I'm saying we take the point that you want us to be specific. We will do that as far as possible. And if in the report of the 24th there are still areas where it could be ambiguous, people will raise them. But we will go with the approach that says names.
One quick point. So if in the document referring to an office, then we say the office of the minister or the office of the AG. But if it's referring to the minister as in the person, then it must have the name.
We've got that. Yeah. You guys are just giving us too much work. We will do that. Let me keep on reminding you. Let's keep on reminding you that this report is 37 pages. We don't want a 100-page report. Just be cognizant of the fact that we don't want a bulky report or unnecessarily bulky, but we will change that and put names, and where it refers to the office and not the individual, we'll put the office. I think that's fair. 2.2.4. I thought we were dealing with 2.2.3 at that point. Is there more on 2.2.3? I beg your pardon, 2.4.1. 241.
Yeah. Chair, I would like to suggest that instead of putting the hearings took place from 7 December 2016 to 13 January, because it sounds like we had hearings for 6 weeks, we put from 7 December to whatever date 14th, I think, and then from whatever date to 13 January. There were 2 sessions of those hearings, so it's quite specific. Thanks.
That is fine. We will make those amendments, and I'm hoping that those that are assisting us in scribing, everybody, you are taking note. Google, everybody's taking notes. All right. 2.4.2. 242. Yes, Mr.
Nice. No, Chair, this thing is not in the document, but it's something that I feel colleagues may want to consider. Look, I would suggest that we consider including a problem statement, if it's possible. I know we never discuss it, but it is implied that we are trying to resolve a problem. And what is that problem? My view would be that it would be proper that we actually bring a problem statement on what had happened in the SABC, and therefore the processes that are unfolding are actually trying to resolve that problem. And I'm prepared to craft a short input on that matter, if I'm allowed.
So we'll put that problem statement in the introduction. You can, right at the beginning at the introduction, he'll draft one and we'll read it to you. We won't put it in without us considering it. But if you want to put, is there any opposition to putting a problem statement? 1, 2, 3, 3. Yes, let's start with you. Problem statement.
No, my take of yours will be to have a problem statement vis-a-vis terms of reference. I thought that terms of reference clearly define what is a problem, rather than creating another problem.
No, it's abundantly clear, Chair, that the problem statement will come before the terms of reference, because I'm supporting it, yes.
Chair, I was trying to actually just check the order paper if we can't just find the one-liner there. But, clearly the introduction in the NA minutes captures a little bit, but Honourable Mshlango would probably like to expand on that. I don't have a problem in principle. I think I support it, as long as it's not a long paragraph.
No, it's fine. We won't preempt, but you hear what the people are saying. You can do it. We don't have a problem in principle. We will bring it before the House tomorrow, and we'll agree where we're putting it in terms of actual spacing. Honourable Mokoena.
No, Chair, I was going to suggest that it goes in the terms of reference in 2.1.1, right, where it says the inquiry was instituted on the basis of, and then yeah.
All right. By close of this meeting this evening, Honourable Mahlangu, you must give us something by close of business this evening, and we will debate it tomorrow. 2.4.2. 242. Chauke.
Can we separate the civil society and the state institution? Have a separate paragraph that identifies civil society? Because in the headlines there is the following state institutions, and we have put in civil society together with your public broadcasting coalition and the freedom of expression. They are separate from the state institutions, so we have to put them separately.
Okay, we will say the following state institutions, list them, and the following civil society organizations, and list them. Okay, that's 242. Any other amendments on 242? Mukwena and then Killian.
And then SABC 8 falls under what? And other.
No, but I'm saying 2.4.2, it's not there, isn't it?
No, it's not in.
Yeah, which we're still dealing with 2.4.2. We'll get to 2.4.4. Killian, 242.
Chair, we refer to the abbreviation for the Office of the Auditor General later on. My suggestion would be that we early in the document just have between brackets AXA, so that we can then later on just use that as well as ICASA. So my suggestion would be that we either, if we introduce these institutions in paragraph 2.4.1, then we just put between brackets the abbreviation, and then from there on we can just use that going forward.
All right. Can we go back, Chauke, to your point? The boss here is saying to me, if we read that thing carefully, the second bullet point, it says ICASA came to brief us on matters relating to, because the other one lists them separately. So are you happy, Chauke? Here we were not listing them separately. We were saying we spoke about state institutions, then we talk about the AG, finish it. Then we talk about ICASA and what ICASA came to do. On bullet point 2. No, it says, no, ICASA came to brief us on matters that were raised by civil society. So it was not, we were not trying to categorize. All right, so we are deleting your recommendation. Anything else on 2.2.2? We'll take your point, Madam Killian, that we will have something that is almost, I don't know what you call it in English, but where we say AGSA equals to this and PBA equals to that up front. Glossary, yeah. Outside of that, is there anything on 2.4.2 you must shout? No? Thank you very much. 2.4.3. Yes, Madam Van Dam and then Singh.
Thanks, Chair. This applies to this clause and the following ones. Where we say people declined, we need to give a short sentence explaining why they declined. It needs to be on record that they were invited and they declined and what their reasons were. In case people come back later and say they weren't given opportunity, we must have it on record why they declined.
Right. We will take all those points. Hopefully we have kept records of that. I think we have, and we will do that. But remember, members, you'll always come back and check if we are accurately reflecting what you want. Honourable Singh.
Thank you, Chair. On declining, I think that sentence or whatever that refers to declining must be in a new paragraph. It's the new thing. It must not just be caught up with who was invited.
Say that slowly, you got it?
I say the sentence which refers to those that decline must come as a new, complete new sentence. It's a new point.
Okay.
A new paragraph.
Okay. Happiness? 244. Now hold on. Can I go back to 243? I had a difference on my one. Declined to participate. Can't we add the sentence, or were unavailable? Because others that didn't come was not just because they declined. Some were unavailable. So we'll add to the end of that sentence, declined to participate or were unavailable, but then we'll still make it a separate sentence because it mustn't appear as if everybody that didn't appear declined. Others were just not available. People were sick and whatever. So we'll add or were unavailable. Thank you very much. Then it means we move to 244, eh?
No, Chair.
Yeah, bo? 243.
Can I suggest?
No, hold on. Let's just find out where we are first. Is it 243?
243, yeah.
Okay, on 243, Mr. Mokoena.
Yeah, I think they must be categorized. The ones that came, the ones that declined, and the ones that were unavailable. So that they're three separate things. So yeah.
All right with that proposal? Swartz, and then what is it right? Honorable Waters? On 243? No, okay. 244. Let's start with Mr. Swartz, 244.
Chair, this obviously, there must be a sentence here about them giving evidence and the intimidation and the outrage that we as members of parliament expressed when they gave evidence, and then thereafter they were still threatened, and you took it up with the authorities and reported, and we need to put a sentence in here or at an appropriate place about them being intimidated, because as we said, this was an attack and discouraging people to come and give evidence here to Parliament. We saw it as an attack on us. So we were very strong on that issue. Where we put it in, either here or later, is obviously significant, but it is a very important paragraph.
That point, is it, I mean, that was our observation. Can't we put it under observations? Yeah, under observations, because, I mean, it was hours afterwards. Okay, we won't miss the point. We will put it there that says, under observations, the committee was not very happy with what was happening, and we did whatever we needed to do. 244, Mr. Waters, and then Ms. Killian.
Chair, there's a spelling mistake on individual's name. It should be Obule. I hope I pronounced it right. The first one, first name, Obule. It's spelled it's spelled incorrectly. Then we also need to name the SABC 8 people, please. We should name them, not, because they were very brave. And obviously, as a
hold on, just very slowly, just hold on very slowly. Evidence on behalf of, and we'll give all the names.
Yes, of the 8.
As opposed to SABC 8, we take out SABC 8 on behalf of, and we list all of them.
Well, you can refer to them as SABC 8,
but
I
list
think
them somewhere.
We need to list their names, and it's the first paragraph we're mentioning them.
All right, anything else on 244?
Then just the point that Honourable Van Dam mentioned, the fact that Mr. Green declined to participate. We need the reasons there. Okay, all right, thank you.
Honourable Killian.
Yes, Chair, and only in the case of Mr. Green, we should also just make it a separate paragraph to highlight the fact that, that he didn't come. Just as in the previous case.
No, and Ms. Sophie Mokoena as well.
All right, that's fine. Separate paragraph. The sentence that starts, Mr. Vuyani Green must be a separate paragraph, is what you're proposing. Is that what you're proposing, Killian? Okay, let's take
Sorry,
Mokoena.
As well as in the case of Ms. Sophie Mokoena.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that clearly we must just say that they were invited, but they declined to come. And I suggest that if we're putting the reasons in some other cases, then if we have the reasons, then we can insert that as well.
No, I thought we had agreed early on that we'll have a table categorizing those things up front somewhere. Then we don't have to put the reasons every time, because there will be that table that we refer to. Honourable Kwankwa?
No, on this Vuyani grid matter, I just want to find out, that sentence says could not be accommodated in the query when he indicated willingness to do so towards the end of the process. Did we not say that we're going to accommodate him via written submission? Should that not be captured here, or am I missing something?
No, we could say could not be accommodated for physical.
Yes.
Yeah, we can, for an oral one, yeah.
Okay.
You got that? Okay, we'll clarify that. Honorable Chauke, still on 242.
Yeah, no, on that
244.
note- On that note, Chair, under 244, is it not possible that we can go back and deal with because I don't see us having dealt with the behavior of the board. You remember the appearance, the walkout and all of that, it's still coming. It's still coming. No, that's fine. Because I thought it will then follow those who have not. But it's important part that I wanted to deal with.
Tell you offline what I should have said now, but I'll spare you the blushes, man. 244, are we happy? Yes, with those changes. 245? Let's take Mr. Singh and then Ms. Killian.
Chair, yeah, the first sentence, I think we can rephrase that somehow or the other. The following SABC employees were invited to give evidence on the SABC's human resource management and compliance with the PFMA in regard to financial and supply chain management. And then we list...
Just say that slowly again.
The following former SABC employees were invited to give evidence on...
Give evidence on, yeah?
The SABC's human resource management and compliance with the PFMA.
And compliance with the PFMA.
I think we can stop there. Or with regard to financial and supply chain management.
Full stop.
Yeah.
Full
Then
stop.
List them, yeah.
Cindy, you got that? All right, I noted Killian and... Oh, is somebody opposing that particular one? Okay, let's take the position to that one.
Chair, I thought we agreed in the beginning that we're not doing grammar. I think that's a grammatical contribution. Can we just, otherwise we'll never finish, can we just do stylistic or contents, not grammar or spelling, unless it's, like Honorable Koza said, unless it's spelling that's not in English. But can we just limit ourselves to that?
Okay, in the spirit of being conciliatory, and because you're asking for it, you'll pay the price for it. People like Mr. Singh who have that type of thing, can you just make a note and jot it and send it to the table? And we'll factor it. So the more you find fault, the more you'll work. Honorable Killian, on 245.
Chairperson, just for completeness, if we refer to Mr. Jimmy Matthews, I think we should also refer to the fact that he was acting group CEO, GCEO, where we make reference to the position he held as former head of news. We can just insert and acting GCEO, Mr. Jimmy Matthews.
Fine. Was there anybody else on 245? Yes, Mr. Mokoena and then Mr. Swartz.
No, just...
And then Ma'am Koza.
Just on a style thing, again, just inconsistency, to say that the following people presented evidence, and then we mentioned Phil Molefe and the rest of them, and then we say, and the following declined, and then Jimmy Matthews, and yeah. So it's a separation of, yeah.
Chair, some of the documents that we got last night, there's an annexure that isn't signed, and I'm not sure it's from a JM123. There's no name, and it could be from Mr. Matthews, I don't know, but if that is the case, then it would have to be inserted that he did make a written submission. But maybe we can get clarity from, I'm not sure who it came from, but it's, anyway, that's a point we can clarify outside of the meeting.
No, just so that there's no gray areas. Mr. Matthews never made a written submission other than to send us an SMS later on in the process saying that he could well make himself available, but there's no written submission. Ms. Koza.
May be useful for the document to reflect the period under which such a, if it's a group executive, we maybe in brackets, we put something that, indicates the period under which such, the tenure of that executive. The reason being that, Chair, there's been a lot of changes. And if we omit the period, it may just water down the extent or the enormity of the problem.
I hope members are not asking us to go and look for evidence that we don't have. If we have that evidence, we will list
Chair,
it. Yeah.
can I suggest there was something that the staff did in that research document that you did? There was a tenure of all these people, and I think it's information that we already have.
No, I'm saying the principle is as long as it's information that we readily have available, because we won't have time to go and do research. Honorable Mokoena, we're still on 245.
I'm not sure, I don't remember this being covered. But can we then find a clause that lists all the written submissions, to list them all and what the issues were and so on and so forth?
We will do that as an annex year. I should have mentioned that earlier on.
Okay, cool.
So the type of things that Mr. Mokoena, not only for you, but remember that we said at the beginning that we will try and be as transparent as possible. We would have received them, members of public wouldn't know. So we'll have an extra that says these were the written submissions that were received, and try and summarize what the contents were. But we'll have it as an annexure.
Yeah. But then with this, weren't there some that were written submissions on the basis that they feared for their lives, or, and would it be correct for us to publicize them?
No, I'm saying we will try and be as transparent as possible. Where there are written submissions, we can do that, but I don't think anybody wrote and wanted to be anonymous.
Yeah, okay.
But if there were, we will bring it to you and we will confer. But the principle is we'll give you a list of the written submissions, which you all have, by the way. But for the sake of the report, we'll make that a next year. Kubisa, and then...
Yeah, Chair, I wanted to say this matter of tenure is very important. The period when a person was serving in the SABC is very important, because somebody knows about the SABC, and when you put in the name, he or she would love to know when that person was serving. Where possible, that must be given.
Chauke?
On the issue of the submissions, the public submissions, one of the things that we must do is to be public submissions that the Honorable Mokoena was talking about, that we should, public submissions, written submissions that were submitted, that we should sort of list them and then state what were the issues there. I'm saying that we need to be careful on the line that if they were not under oath, we may not want to take that information and make it a public information, to be information that we submitted, in fact. So we can just list them as the following submissions were made, and we leave it there, rather than going into the detail because they're not under oath.
No. Yeah, I thought what I understood Mr. Mokoena was saying would be there was a public submission from Vincent Smith relating to X, without the detail.
Without going to the detail.
Yeah. Agreed. 245, anything else? All right. 1 o'clock we'll stop because I'm informed that lunch is at 1 o'clock, so just bear that in mind. 246? 246? Happy? 247? Don't howl at me. 246, you don't agree? No, we'll note everybody. 247. Let's take ladies first this time. Killian, remember your numbers. You'll be number 2, Van Dam. You'll be number 3, sir. You'll be number 4. You'll be number 4. Killian.
Chairperson, I just want to suggest that we make it Professor Maguve, because at the intro we refer to him, and thereafter we refer to him as Miss.
Instead of prof, we must make it professor. That's what you're suggesting?
No, I don't necessarily say professor. I'm just saying the second sentence starts with Mr. Maguve.
I see. Or where we say prof all over. Okay. That it? Killian? I beg your pardon. Van Dam?
Thanks, Chair. When we're speaking about Prof. Maguve and his attempts to delay the inquiry, I think we need to go into a little bit more detail, because it speaks to the SABC board's and executives' attitude towards Parliament. So can we include, it doesn't have to be long, can we include that they went to court, that they then again tried to stop the inquiry twice. They came here, they walked out. Just a few sentences to just put it on record, the initial attitude towards the committee.
I'm being advised that we put that under observations, what you're talking about. Is that okay? We've covered it under observations. I had noted two other hands. Who was it? No, it was Chauke, and then Swartz, and then Mokoena. 247.
The invitation that invited Prof. Maguve was as a chairperson of the board. You remember he resigned immediately after he appeared here. So the line must read that to give evidence as the chairperson of the board, rather than on his tenure as, in his capacity as a chair. We invited him as a chair of the board.
Agreed? Got that? All right. We'll come to you. Swartz, and then Mokoena, and then we'll come to you, ma'am. On 247.
The issue of why we had to summons him is important to be mentioned, whether it's here or in observations. It's not a normal process, but I think we need to emphasize why we summoned him as well, together with the delays. I think that can come under observations. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah. When we get to observations, you will talk to us whether it's strong enough or whether we want to add it, but I'm saying park it for observations. Mokoena.
Yeah, Chair, just to, I think in the spirit of fairness, we must mention his reasons for walking out, the issue of the Braille and so on and so forth, because I think that kind of information might assist Parliament in going forward, in dealing with people with Braille or other special needs. No?
No, remember no, put your mic down. Remember it's parked for observations. We can discuss it. I'm just thinking aloud here because.
No, that's fine.
Because.
Okay.
Do we
coming out in this manner, very sensitive.
Well, if you guys agree that we must capture the reasons, it's fine. But sometimes we'll be capturing things and emphasizing wrong things. You must be careful that we mustn't immortalize things that are wrong.
No, sure.
But we'll deal with it when we get to observations. Was there anybody else on 247 besides yourself? All right, can I make my own suggestion? At the very end of 2.7, gave evidence in a role as shareholder representative, because that's what it is. It's not the shareholder, it's shareholder representative. Okay. Will you put that? No? Yeah, that's... Oh, am I jumping the gun? I beg your pardon, I'm sorry. So 2.4.7, we're happy with that one. All right. 2.4.8, we'll put shareholder... Let me get the first bite. Shareholder representative, anything else? Happiness. 249. Oh, 248.
All I was saying, Chair, is all the other witnesses that we've captured before, we mentioned their names. Here we're going for an abbreviation. And I think we've not been, all I'm saying is let's try and have a particular standard that we're using. If we knew using names, let's use the names throughout the document and not, yeah.
You're saying instead of F, we must put the name. Is that what you're saying?
Put the name, as well as you go to the document, there are others that we obviously have not used name, we just use their initials and what have you. So let's just be consistent in our approach.
Accepted. 248? 248.
Yes, it's an honorable member.
Are you saying we must say Honorable Miss Faith Matambi or Honorable Miss Faith Matambi? It's fine. No, it's fine. It's fine. It means that if you do that, we're going to do it all over in the document. If it's a member, we must do that. Got that. It's fine. We will do as you command us to do. 248, is there anything else? Mr. Swartz.
Chair, should we not mention here or in the next paragraph that the Honourable Minister Yunus Karim also made a submission as in response to allegations made against him? It's a suggestion.
Now, remember what we're doing here is trying to reflect evidence that we received orally and in writing. Those things that you're talking about, I think we can put as observations, isn't it? Yeah. Is that acceptable?
Yes, Chairperson.
Ngiyanithanda nonke. 248, can we move on? 249. 249? Loliwe?
With your indulgence, Chair, can we go back? Oh, we are still on the 249 is fine. I think Mr. Swart was alluding to the inclusion of Honorable Karim because he has made a written submission. That's why he was proposing that he be included there. Remember, in our recent submissions, there's a submission from Honorable Karim.
We can put that. I'm just thinking because there's a whole file of written submissions there. The whole file. So that's why I thought we had said earlier on, we will list the written submissions as an annexure. Otherwise, everywhere, and in that, so in the same spirit, 2410 will move from here and it will go into the written submissions. Okay, it's for consistency's sake. Yes, ma'am.
Express just a slight different view. If we look at paragraph 2.4.8, we're dealing with the shareholder representative. Now, we have captured in 2.4.11 the fact that allegations were made about the governance failures of previous boards, and consequently, the two were invited. Can we, I want to make the recommendation that we say, in response to allegations made about...
Hold on. What point are you looking at?
And then at 2.4.8.
2.4.8.
A written submission was made by former Minister Yunus Karim, Minister of Communication, Mr. Yunus. We just state that because then we capture that and we make a difference between that and other written submissions, Chairperson, because I think they were very pertinent and he replied to certain matters that were raised during the deliberations of the committee and engagement with witnesses. So that would be my recommendation. I don't know if there's any appetite for that.
Remember what we're trying to clarify. There's a suggestion that says all written submissions will be acknowledged, but they will be acknowledged as an annexure. That's the one proposal. The other proposal is saying, let's put it in 2.4.8. Can we get together on this matter? I'm not going to open it up for more than this round. At the end of this round, we're going to take a decision. Yebo Baba.
Chair, I think we must be careful here because we must differentiate between what the inquiry heard and what witnesses were questioned on, and written submissions, because written submissions were not interrogated. They were there for our own, for our own purposes. So I think we must differentiate. It must be clear that this is what the commission heard. And written submissions must then be a separate thing that must be, I'm not sure if I'm clear. Thanks.
Can I withdraw, Chair?
No, you can't. We're going to allow Mr. Swartz, and then we will list this thing as something where we have not reached consensus because we've got another day tomorrow. We can't spend until lunchtime discussing one item. If yours doesn't agree with this, then we will list it as something that we must go and apply our mind and we'll do tomorrow.
Chair, it's not a big issue, but the point is here you've got a minister who is also a shareholder representative, so it's not just another witness. But I've got no problem to list him. I have a concern with Mr. Mkwena's suggestion because all submissions must have the same weight in an inquisitorial process. Because as soon as you start saying we didn't interrogate, there's a different weight to that, then the responses from the SABC, they must all have the same weight. All written submissions have the same weight, understanding that we didn't necessarily question them on everything, but we've got a lot of documentation, and my view is we can use any information in that documentation to present it, although we haven't necessarily inquired and asked them about it. It hasn't been oral, but there's a massive amount. By adopting a weighted, that some is more weighty than other evidence, we will be found to be unfair. So I think, Chair, I understand what Mr. Mokoena is saying. We didn't interrogate it in questions, but we had very limited time to do that. And so there's massive amount of evidence that is before it in the form of written submissions as well that we must consider, Chair. So I would suggest I don't have a problem with listing Minister as Karim as a shareholder representative in the list of submissions we've received.
So I'm not sure anymore what you're saying. Are we saying that we're going to acknowledge him in 2.4.8 plus list him?
Whatever
That's the question that we
whatever the
want
majority.
answered. No, it's fine. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying we must get clarity on that one. You're helping us in there, sir.
No, Chair. I think the no. I don't think by just listing them we're giving them less weight. I think by listing them we're giving them the weight that they deserve. We're acknowledging them. But here it says Minister Faith Mutambi gave evidence, and she did. She was here. We interrogated the evidence, and that evidence is going to be reflected in the rest of the thing. Whereas Minister Karim's evidence was not interrogated. But we are saying that we will present whatever he presented to this report, even though we can't reflect on it because we did not interrogate it. So let's put it in as part of the list, as we have done with other written submissions. And then we just leave the oral evidence as a separate matter. Because if we do that, if we put Minister Karim's thing here, it sounds like we interrogated that as well as Ms. Faith Mutambi's thing.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. It's fine.
Anybody has a problem if we put it as listed. I'm not interested in any other view. Those that feel that it would be wrong just to reflect it as one of those that are listed, please indicate. Otherwise, we're going to reflect it as listed. Anybody is going to be violently opposed if we don't put it as a standalone. Anybody? No? Yes, sir. And then Kwanka.
No, Chair. Chair, they don't carry the same weight. The statements that are under oath, that members came here, those that we have invited came here under oath, is separate from an affidavit. Therefore, the statements, we just list them as we have agreed because the weight is not the same. Those that were under oath here, that is what is going to reflect. Those that have sent written submissions, they will form the queue that the Honorable Mokoena is proposing, that even the Minister Karim is going to follow within the list of those that we have identified. At some point, you close the chair, and you have allowed it to open again. I think you are right when we were closing it. Everything that was not under oath will have to go through a particular list. And that's what I think we should close it.
Chairperson, I think to some extent, Honorable Chauke has covered me. I think I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with us listing them, the written submissions. But I think what seems to be emerging out of this discussion is that we perhaps need to talk about how did we process then the written submissions if we're saying they carry the same weight as the oral submissions before the committee. Because we don't want to give an impression to those people who submitted them that we did not take them seriously, because remember, they are following these proceedings. Thank you.
Chair, the only thing that I wanted to say is in the case of Minister Faith Mutambi, we didn't have the oath here because she is sworn in as a minister. Equally, Mr. Yunus Karim, as a member of parliament, is a sworn member of this assembly. So whether we want to differentiate or not, we actually, in a certain way, have to. Because if he submits something to parliament, he is sworn to present to Parliament the truth and nothing but the truth, as in the case of Minister Faith Mutambi. So I just want to highlight that. Although we did not inquire as to, and have him here in oral evidence, we have to differentiate between that, but I will abide by whatever the committee decides.
Honourable members, you know, can we agree to list it? And when we get to the 24th, if you still feel differently, you can talk about it. Because there are other members that also gave us under affidavit and those type of things. You know, when we start saying this one and that one, we will list them as we've received them. And some we might process and we'll even move from the list to the actual by the 24th if people have read them overnight. But can we just put them as an annexure for now? And on the 24th, members can make a final decision on it. We've now spent 15 minutes on just whether we must put that name on or not on. Anything else on 249? No? 2410 we're going to take off and put on the list, remember? All right, Cindy, you've got that. 2411? 2411? You want to talk as well, sir? No, I'm saying you. Vanara, I see you doing this. You're at liberty to, yeah. So let's take Ms. Killian. Ms. Killian?
Okay, thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I would just suggest that we bring it back to the issue of the board. My suggestion would be that we say it as follows. In the course of the hearings, allegations were made, and then we insert the following subphrase, relating to the governance failures of previous boards, which were chaired by Dr. Ben Kubane and Ms. Ellen Chabalala, full stop. Both were therefore invited to give evidence related to their tenures. It is just to bring it back to allegations relating to the board.
On that point?
In addition, to then say that those matters affected the current board.
I think somewhere in our observations, we have said that we note that the problems of the current board precede all boards. I think we've tried to link that it's not just...
I just think it's important to mention it here,
okay.
Even if we repeat it there.
Okay, please rephrase it so that we can capture what you're saying, the sentiment.
No, it's the thing that she said, plus...
Ms. Killian, the thing that you said, plus Baba?
Plus, which affected...
Between the two of you, you'll draft it at lunchtime and give it to us. But we agree with you in principle.
No problem.
Two of you will do it lunchtime and give us the page.
No problem.
That's 2411. 2411? Done, eh? All right. Except for the outstanding from Killian and Mokwena. 251, which is quite long. 251? Happiness. 252. Happiness? Yes, Mr. Swartz.
The documents were sent on the 9th and 10th December, the day on which the hearings began, if I remember correctly. We got the documents, was it the day before, and the hearings commenced the next day, the 9th or the 10th? If that is weekend, and we commenced on the 13th? After? Well, then we say that, after the hearings had commenced.
Chairperson, I just wanted to say also, I think we should capture it there, that no index of documents submitted was provided. because we inquired about it during the hearings and from the company secretary. And I think I have verified with the Secretariat. They have never received any list of documents that were in fact supplied, the 500 electronic ones submitted. I want to suggest that we say SABC eventually submitted in excess of 500 electronic documents on 9 and 10 December 2016. I think no index of documents submitted was presented to the committee.
All right, that's an accurate reflection. And can we then move to 253? Let's take Van Dam and then take Swart. 253, Van Dam.
253, where we speak about the documents that Prof. Maguve indicated could not be submitted. Can we have a list of those documents? And I think there's a difference between could not and were not, so which also speaks to the next point. So we must list all the documents that could not be provided for commercially sensitive reasons, according to him, and then the documents that were not provided. So we need a list of those.
So you're saying that those that this attorney reported on as sensitive, you're saying we must list those ones? Because there's a letter that says we will list those. Okay. Was there anybody else on 253?
Yes, Chair. Just briefly, in observations, we should also make mention of the fact that it came out in the evidence that when you inquired that some of the documentation that was listed as being privileged in a sense did not appear to be privileged. Remember that you raised those issues, and that needs to come out in observations.
I don't think we've covered it, but we'll mark it. I think we did make an observation that part of the obstruct referred to them as received. We must say that the list is attached.
Well, is that not what we're going to do?
I'm saying.
So here we say the list. Yeah, a full list is a full list of
an extra A or an extra B, whatever the case might be. You got that? All right. 254. Mr. Waters, Mr. Kubiso, and then Mr. Mahlangu.
I support what Honourable Swart said. Should we not name the people that submitted the written document? I don't know if that was, I didn't get the point if Honourable Swart's raised it, but we should say that the written submissions were received from A, B, and C. I know there were quite a few, but we should list who they are and then say that people can refer to the annexures to see what they actually said. Because people are going to look at this report in a few years' time, and they're going to have to be able to reference those documents. That's why it should be attached.
Sorry, Chair, I'm misunderstanding. Maybe I didn't make myself clear, because we're not attaching a list of the documentation, we're attaching a list of the names. That can either be done here or later. You see, the evidence itself it's form part of the bundle of evidence, of the oral evidence, the annexures, everything. So are my suggestion is the names here, the names themselves will be listed at the end, because there's a lot of names. Would it not be very cumbersome to mention it here?
Waters is saying let's list the names here, and you're saying list the names there. You're saying put it at the end. We're just talking on that point. Let's take Kubis.
Yes, Chair. I just wanted to say this document will be kept in the annals of history. And as such, it's important that over and above listing the names of those who made written submissions, we also refer to annexures. I know that the document at the end of the day will be voluminous, but we need to point out that it will be fine to annexure A, B, C, or D, or whatever. That's my take, Chair.
Let's understand this. That point says written information from several witnesses and interested or affected parties were received. And Mr. Waters is saying list just the names of the people who sent them. Here on this paragraph, here, just the names, not the not the content, just the names. And then we'll have an annexure at the back that we had agreed upon earlier on that will say Vincent Smith on this matter.
Agreed, Chair, it's fine.
No, we will do that. So listen to what we are saying now also, and so that we are clear. In our final document, we are not going to attach the actual letter that we received, because we can make a one-line sentence that says, documents are available on request. So here we list the names. The annexure will be a tabularized form of what we've received, but the physical document, we are not going to attach to this document. They will be available on request. Is that our understanding? Otherwise, this document will be bigger than that thing that you've got. Do you want to say something, sir? No? But why are you laughing? So that deals with 254.
Chair, it just does raise the issue that we need an archive of all the evidence, and that's a separate issue. All the evidence, all the documents need to be archived and prepared, the transcript of all the evidence as well.
Maybe let's agree on the principle, Chair, of documentation, that the transcript, it's a record on its own, right? It's there. You now have your written submissions, which will form part of the report. Obviously, it's going to be a bulky report at some point. So we'll list the names, but we'll have to keep that record. So that's a principle that we agree on. Then I'm fine with that approach.
That's why we're saying will be available on request. We're not going to send that to every affected party, but if an affected party wants to look specifically, he'll come to our library, wherever that library is developed. Happiness? Make sense? I hear somebody saying makes sense. For once in my life, I make sense. Okay. That is 254. Can we go to 31? Is that all right? We've got 15 minutes. 311, Mem Van Dam.
Chair, can I
And then Koza.
ask that we include an additional point when we speak about the board's fiduciary duties? Can we list the legislation from where the board would derive its fiduciary duties? And that would be sections 50, 51 of the PFMA, which lists the duties of an accounting authority of a public entity, as well as include section 83, 84, and 85 of the PFMA. It's 83, 84, and 86 of the PFMA, which details what action must be taken against an accounting authority that does not fulfill their fiduciary duties. I think it's very important that we include that legislation so that it's clear where we get our information from.
I think we must make reference to the legislation. Section X, Y, and Z in the Public Finance Management Act. And if there's something in the Companies Act, we'll do that, because there could well be fiduciary duties in the Companies Act. Or the Broadcasting Act. You guys are giving us a lot of work. I thought we said fiduciary duties from relevant documents. That's fine. I hear what you're saying. We will help us, because I don't want somebody to say, technically tomorrow, you only listed these three, but there's something in the fourth one. But we will do our damnest to list them. Ma'am Koza.
Chair, I agree with Honorable Van Dam. Probably the first thing that I need to say is that, which we haven't said, we have to appreciate the work that has gone into this document, Chair. We really do appreciate it. And whatever that we are coming up with is precisely because you guys provided something to work on. Chair, you know, under 3 point, well, first of all, I thought that, and probably this is going to observations as well, I'm not sure, but I think our heading should be governance, compliance, and consequences. And I'll tell you why I think those must go together. Because at SABC, the evidence that was provided, that was presented to us, really went beyond just governance and compliance, but there were simply no consequences. You know, people just did as they wished and what have you. But the other thing, Chair, that was my open observation, which I hope will be captured there, which fits into this, is the whole thing around the perils of indifference. You see, in as much as our witnesses came before us, some of them, when it did not affect them, they were okay with continuing with the situation as it was until it actually started hitting them, that they then started reacting. And I think that's a very critical observation because so many lives were destroyed in that process. There are so many people that are unemployed as we speak today who, because of what actually happened at SABC, and it's some of the people that led the evidence, that presented the evidence here as victims. Yes, they were victims, but you find that at initial stages, they also kind of played in the game, you know, and they took part. So I'm not sure, Chair, if we should, I'm not sure how do we capture that. Maybe our legal advisors will help us. But the first sentence there in 3.1.1, testimony during the inquiry revealed what to many has been an open secret. That is, for several years, new board were confronted with challenges that predated their terms. Chair, I'm not sure if this sentence we should be putting it that way. There's something not right about this sentence. And instead, Chair, I think that because one of the things we need to be, this report must be doing, it must not be a report that simply says, you know, we don't even know when this thing started or whatever, because that's the impression that you get from this. And it's instead, I think we should be saying the testimony confirmed and even revealed, you know, the things that they revealed, because there were already, there were pronouncements on the public protector report, on the governance failure at SABC.
I'll allow you to continue, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm just wanting to understand, are we now talking on the observation side or are we talking on the factual side?
I'm talking, I was giving you the context, Chairperson, okay, on 3.1.1 so that you can understand why I am saying that first sentence on 3.1.1, we need to review that sentence. I think it doesn't capture the essence of what's actually happening at SABC. Hence, I am saying, probably we should be saying a testimony during the inquiry confirmed and even revealed, you know, and then we can, you know, what boards were confronted with. But I'm also saying, let's not put the thing that, something that says that predates their terms, because yes, there are those instances where it was predating their terms. Because if you leave it at that, that means there's nobody who is responsible, because everything seems to be predating everyone. And therefore, you will end up not holding certain people to account. That's my thing, Chair, but people with good English will help me, you know, craft this thing properly so that it's punchy and it captures the essence of what happened at SABC. You are looking at me, Mokwena.
One, two, three. We're talking 3, 1, 1.
Yeah, I think we should build it up, Chair. And I think Honorable Makosi is correct that I think we could wait for you remember we dealt with the problem statement earlier, that Comrade Mahlangu will have to prepare, meaning that you begin to identify where the problem is. And therefore, this then had to confirm. This paragraph must then confirm what problem that you have identified based on what has been revealed through the process. So I think it just need to be reworked properly, and I think Comrade Makosi can maybe help in that process, because that idea is an idea that begins to identify, in fact, to bring forward. These were the issues that sort of informed by the problem statement.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to say I concur with Honorable Van Dam to say, and yourself, to say that we need the legal team to assist us with quoting the relevant legislation when it comes to the fiduciary duties of the board. So that, as you said, correctly said, we don't have to be seen to be omitting some other legislation. We have to be very meticulous and refer to the relevant legislation accordingly. So the legal team can assist us with that. And secondly, sir, Chair, when you begin to say, oh, this matter is an open secret, it waters down the integrity of the matter. And I'm sure then the recrafting will be needed. Would you say, oh, you know, this is an open secret. It doesn't carry the integrity that's supposed to carry. Thank you.
How are we going to do this thing now? Because I'll come to you guys. You know the way we're going to do it now, because some of you are cleverer than us. It can't be left to the backroom staff. We are going to task some of you to craft this thing for us, because it's an MP's job, by the way. So I'm talking about strengthening it. Can we agree that 2 people here will go and do that at lunchtime, give it to us, because there will be just too much work on these people. In certain instances, we will do what we need to do. In other instances, as we had indicated to Mokoena and Killian, we will give that task to some people. Can we agree on the principle on that one? Because then we own up to it. But then we take Mokoena and then we take Waters on 311. Are we talking 311, Mokoena? Yes, sir.
Yeah, and then I want to speak to 313 as well.
Not there yet, please.
We're going to get there. I think the issue of testimony suggested that Mr. Claudio Motsoeneng was at the center. It must be a separate thing. Thanks.
Things into account. No, Mr. Waters and then you, sir.
Chair, I just wanted to support Dr. Khoza with regards to the second sentence, i.e., I'm quoting now, for several years the new boards were confronted with challenges that preceded their terms. That's not a fact. It's someone's opinion. And I think that has to come out. Okay.
It's fine. Mr. Swart.
Chair, just on your proposal that people must draft, I think that if you're making a suggestion, then you must draft. You must provide the draft. Surely that makes sense.
That's fine.
We need to... And then, is it correct right at this first stage to refer to Mr. Motsoeneng, right here already? I don't know if it's correct, because there's a lot of other issues which we deal with, and we state this right up front. I'm feeling very uncomfortable about that.
No, I thought Mokoena made a proposal to take him out anyway from the beginning. Can we agree? And I mean, we had said that there's no holy cows. Who is willing to... If you still think that sentence is in fact necessary, as Ms. Khoza, Honorable Khoza and others are saying, can somebody draft something that reflects what we were trying to, because clearly we failed in that regard. Any takers on just 311? Oh, you're writing it now? Okay. Okay. We will, somebody take a note that we will revisit this one after lunch because it's done. After lunch, we'll revisit. Oh, you want to do it now? We've got 5 minutes to lunch, my daughter. On 311. 311. Yes, ma'am.
My suggestion about the legislation, I'm happy to draft that, or we're leaving that to the lawyers. I'll draft it, okay, thank you.
All right. You're not drafting the legislation, you're just going to list it. Yeah. Right. By close of business, Van Dam will tabulate the legislation. By lunchtime, the contribution of Honorable Khoza in terms of 311 will be put on the table. I'm saying after lunch because we're going to lunch now. So we're going to adjourn. Your one is not too urgent, ma'am, because it's just factual. but we will then start with the proposals that both COSA and Waters will co-author for 311. Is that fair? All right, that's where we'll start, honorable members. We will, do you need a whole hour or do you need half an hour? Not half an hour, a whole hour? 45 minutes? Half an hour lunch. You're enjoying this process, eh? All right. We will be back at 1:30 and we will commence with 311. And by that time, I beg your pardon, Waters and COSA would present what they want to put on the table. We'll debate it and take it from there. Thank you very much. Can we leave this? I'm informed that before we have lunch, the members of this committee, can you just remain here before we break for lunch? What did I want to say before that? Is it safe for us to leave our documents because we've got so many documents? Can we leave them here? Are you staying here? You're on diet. All right. It's safe not to take anything, of course, except your laptop, but there will be somebody that will physically man this place. We will be back here at 1:30 to start with 311, and first on the floor will be Waters and COSA.